All right, to the commission, Andre,
I do not have any questions.
Rich,
You stole my questions. I'm fine.
Robert Eisner,
No questions or concerns.
David Fox,
How far away is the drainage ditch from your site?
Uh, 50 to 60 feet. The drainage ditch, like if you look on the map, it's the like the little swath over there of like town property.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Doing it right now if you want. Give me a second. We're on 75 feet. 75 feet.
okay,
That's all I have. Thank you.
Mark,
No questions.
Alana,
No questions.
Frank,
No questions.
okay. So I will entertain a motion to accept the application
So moved.
and a second, please.
Second, Lord.
The motion is made and seconded to accept the application. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Okay, I'll poll the commission asking a question about, do you think there's a need for a site walk? And if you think this isn't a significant event or project. Andre?
I do not think there's a need for a sidewalk. And I do not think it's
Okay. Mark?
Not so good. Significant. No sidewalk.
Almost got Rich. Rich?
The same.
Robert?
No need for a site walk in a non-significant regulated activity.
Okay. Dave?
No walk and not significant.
Okay, Alana?
No site walk, not significant.
Okay. Frank?
And no sidewalk, and believe it's not significant.
Okay. All right, so the chair will entertain a motion that this is, we've pulled that there's no need for a sidewalk, but I would entertain a motion that this is not a significant activity.
So moved.
Okay, and a second, please.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded that this is not a significant activity. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? The motion passes. So we'll see you at the next meeting and we'll act on the application.
Okay.
If you have any questions, please feel free to call Bruce.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Man, I hate this message. Monitor, give me a second. Oh. Maria. Yeah, I guess so. All set?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, next item on the agenda is 152 Wood Pond Road, Jeffrey Moore's.
Good evening, Jeffrey Moore's 152 Wood Pond Road. I have an application in to put a maintenance path in our backyard. I think you have already a summary of it. We're on Woodridge Lake. It's about a 23-foot drop from the patio down to the shoreline. And we've controlled for erosion by putting in various different interrupters, terracing, I guess you'd call it. The drawback with the terracing down on the, not sure, I can't really make it out too well here, but
You look behind you.
Behind you too.
you can, you can see to the right, there's a crescent shaped proposed path. We need that because we can't get lawn equipment down. And as we get older, we've looked into having the lawn done, and none of the landscaping people will do it because they can't get equipment down there. One of the other things is we do get loads of snails and algae. They're waterlogged and we have to bring them up the steps. So putting in this crescent shaped curve would give us enough of a path that we could bring wheeled, like, wagon or a jitney or something like that. So that's what we're asking for. The second part is to install a dry well at the end of the driveway. It wasn't clear as to whether this was even in wetlands. It seems to be right on the border, but we've applied for it just to be safe. And we're getting runoff from the adjacent property, and also we want to repave our drive. We'd like to put the dry well in. Thought it'd be a good idea to put the application in at the same time we're doing this. So.
Okay. So there is going to be some excavation to, change the elevations of the ground to make the pathway fit.
The only excavation will be for the dry well at the top. To put in a path, we'll be using fill, approximately 30 cubic yards, according to my landscaper.
Okay.
And that will be sodded afterwards. And of course, we'll put in erosion control until that's all done.
What is the pathway going to be? Is it grass or is it stone?
Yes, it will be grass.
Okay. And the drainage, I saw you had a detail of the drain. The contractor is going to be putting in that drain as well.
Yes, we'll probably do it at the same time. Actually, it's a matter of getting things coordinated. We don't really need the drain until we do the driveway, but we don't want to put a fresh driveway down and then bring in the equipment to do the pathway. So we're looking hopefully with the possibility of putting in the drain. He can use the soil from the drain for the pathway, which means he won't have to lug that around, won't have to lug it away, and we won't have to bring in additional fill. The question is, I've got to try and get this coordinated with the paver to make sure he gets the location correct.
Okay, and the well, I'm not sure about. Let's pull the commission and see if they have any questions. Andre?
Pretty straightforward. I have no questions.
Okay, Rich?
On the drawing here, it says you're going to have a 22% pitch on your sloped surface.
That's what he's calculated, yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm not sure that 22% pitch, the sod will stay in place unless you do something to reinforce that.
I can take it up with the landscaper. He's done work for us twice before. It's been satisfactory. He's done quite a bit of work around the lake as well.
Okay, I'm just concerned that
Mhm.
put down it's not going to stay there.
Yeah, I've been battling erosion we've been in since 93, and a slope like that, when you get a thunderstorm, I'm very well aware of what happens. So that's why we have the yard mostly planted with ground cover.
That's my only concern.
Okay, Robert?
A few questions. Where is your septic system located?
Septic system is. Yes.
Right, so
Yeah.
it's on
that
the
area.
other side of the lot. Not yours.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem.
Okay, and similar to the concern that was raised by Commissioner Berling, I think you probably have to look at a preceded mat or something, because that's a fairly steep slope. And should the application be granted, if you have problems with ongoing erosion, you may need to switch to a process dump or something.
Yeah, that's something that I will be concerned about as well.
And historically, how have you gotten the equipment down there? Some carry downstairs?
Well, before the ground cover grew in, well, I was quite a bit younger then too. You could get a wheelbarrow down and get a push mower down. Now it's overgrown so much, we have to run the push mower down the steps. And it's like 39 pieces of stone. So it's getting tougher and tougher.
Understood. Thank you. All my questions.
I'm sorry.
That's all for my questions.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, Dave Fox,
How far is the lake from the end of the path?
Between 44 and 50 feet. I think Mr. Sear estimated 50 feet. I think we taped it off at a little over 44.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Mark,
You mentioned about dealing with erosion. You would have to use erosion control
Oh, yes, definitely.
area where you're gonna be doing all this, in this fill in. What type of erosion control are you using?
I think they call it wattle. It's straw mats that are sort of wrapped up.
I was gonna say that's probably what you're gonna need.
Yeah.
Just, if
That's-
you say it's steep pitch as it is, that's what you need.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
okay, Alana,
I have no further questions.
Frank?
No further questions.
Okay, no further questions. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the application.
So moved.
And a second, please. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. How do people feel about the site walk and the significance? I'll start with Andre.
I think that's a little significant pitch, but I don't think it warrants a sidewalk. No significance. No sidewalk.
Rich?
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, Mark?
Same.
Robert?
I'd be okay if we don't do a site walk, but given the steep slope and relatively close proximity to the lake, I would actually favor a site walk. Would not be concerned if we did.
Okay. Dave?
I'll agree that it would be nice to have one, but I wouldn't miss it if we don't have it.
Okay. Alana?
I agree with Commissioner Eisner that given the pitch, it might be helpful to have a site walk.
Yeah. Okay, and Frank?
No, I don't believe the sidewalk is required.
Okay, and significance?
Significant.
I kind of favor a site walk here. I think that given the slope and we can maybe give a little advice about where to put straw wattle and make us feel a little more comfortable. Because this is a significant amount of fill that you're bringing in. And we just want to make sure that the erosion doesn't wash any of that into the lake. So I think I would recommend a site walk. People can make it, that would be fine. But so Chair will entertain a motion to have a site walk.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. All right, now, Chair will entertain a motion that this is not a significant activity.
Mr. Chair, perhaps table this. Decision.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Until after the
Yeah, that's
site walk.
true. We usually do significance after the sidewalk if we're gonna have a sidewalk. Okay, so continue to work with Bruce and town, and we'll vote on the application at the next meeting. If you have any questions, feel free to call Bruce.
Do you want us to be present when you do the site walk, or will we be informed about that?
Usually,
Okay. And any idea when it'll be, or should I just wait?
I'm thinking again, with the weather, maybe do it for next week during the week.
okay.
Do like a 6, what are we looking, does everyone like the 5 okay, or do we want to move it to 6? Just give me what's everyone's preference?
I think 5 is okay.
5 o'clock? All right, I'll shoot for Wednesday. I have a Zoom meeting I have a different meeting for here for 5. So maybe do Thursday.
Okay.
Huh?
What time?
Thursday, 11th.
All right, so let's plan on, you know what? I'll send it out. Everyone think about it and then get back to me, all right?
So
Thursday, the
tentatively,
11th.
we're set for Thursday, the 11th at 5 o'clock, but Bruce is going to check the schedules, everybody's schedules. And then he will let you know for sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, 10 Main Gate, Jason Levesque.
Bruce, Lance, members of the board. I'm working as an agent for the current owners. It's been quite some time since I've been here. If you guys recall, I proposed a 4-house subdivision there. Some of you may have been on the board. It's the new proposal. I since let that I withdrew the subdivision. I'm now proposing a single family house with a pool house and a pool, septic system. So we're not doing sewer and going across the culvert. Only a minor amount of utilities going across that culvert in front. The site plan doesn't have that on there. I think Bruce. Sorry, I think you put that old plan in there. I think you put the old plan in there.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Do you want that up now?
Yeah, because it's going to be a minor disturbance in the upland going across the culvert. So from Main Street, I'll be bringing in water and gas. Those are stubbed in currently. So I think we calculated about 0.033 of an acre disturbance there going across on the existing driveway. Then obviously paving the driveway up to the proposed house. So you can see that obviously a big reduction on disturbance in the upland review to the new proposal. The existing conservation stay in place, so no disturbance in the actual wetlands. Bruce, you can go back to the proposed site plan, please. You can see that obviously the dark dotted lines are upland review right there. Most of the disturbance is the proposed pool and pool house. Nothing touching the conservation easement. You can see that in the gray, the dark gray area. And even the septic system is out of the conservation and wetlands area. I'm sure I missed a couple key points there. So if you guys had any questions for me.
What is the plan for like the property area to the north? Is there like a future possible house placement there or?
No. So we got rid of all the lots. Okay. So we did after wetlands, when we passed the subdivision, we had obviously the lots. Now it's all been put together into one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So all of these lots here, 1, 2, and these will all disappear.
Yeah. So 4.
So
yeah.
it'll only be this house along with the driveway.
Yep.
To the house. So if the homeowner wants to clear up in here and someday in the future build a shed or something, then they'd have to come back to the wetlands.
Yeah.
Commission.
If they're, yeah, because they'll be within the 150 feet, right?
Correct. Yeah. They actually, you see the red lines on the subdivision, right? So pretty much 3/4 of the area is covered in upland review. So yeah, definitely something they would have to come in and talk to you guys about.
And it's just going to be a driveway now, not a cul-de-sac.
Correct. Yeah.
Roadway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Bruce, if you don't mind pulling up yeah. So even less disturbance like northwest and everything with obviously the cul-de-sac and driveways on the southeast side.
Okay, and you're gonna have straw wattle or hay bales, erosion control during the construction?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a knoll. So if you look at the topo, there's actually a nice protection from the conservation or wetlands area. It actually is a higher elevation than the proposed disturbance.
Okay.
But along, you see that dark line right there
Mhm.
too, right? That's sill fence and everything.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, let me ask the commission if they have any questions. Andre?
What are you doing with the fill that you're taking out for the pool?
We are taking out, I forget what the exact number is. I'll have to talk to my excavator on that. But we're taking fill out for the house, and the pool and the pool house. It's all sand, sands and gravel and stuff like that. I might need some at the house actually below. So I might sprinkle some there. Other than that, I'm not entirely sure yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you like an answer next time we meet?
I mean, I would probably prefer it not to be dumped anywhere near the wetland zone. Of course.
Oh, yeah.
If you had a
Yeah.
management plan for it to go somewhere, I mean, that's, great.
Right.
I just want to make sure that we're mindful of that and where that is going.
Yeah, right. Honestly, right now, that's a little hard to tell you. More than likely, if someone wants fill, it ends up being one of those things.
Yeah, no, totally get it. Facebook Marketplace,
But
whatever.
it could be a contingency that I'm happy to supply.
Okay.
So
That's it. I have no other questions.
Okay. Rich?
Are you bringing city water in for the?
yeah, yes, yeah, I do plan on that. Yes.
So to Main Street, there's that culvert that comes across. Are you making any improvements to that, or?
That's what I was kind of gathering out before, is that that culvert, we're not planning on doing any disturbance to the actual culvert itself. There's enough fill above it to be able to bring everything in that way.
Okay.
There will be a better driveway base. So we're probably adding, let's call 10 inches of gravel or a good base for the driveway. And then kind of working with the existing. So
Okay.
so not doing anything with the stream there or the brook.
On the brook. Okay.
Yeah.
That lot that fronts on Main Street, is that still part of your parcel, or?
Another company, yes,
Another
but that's gonna get done with this. So that's still part of I guess a separate situation, but
So that'll come in for a separate application because.
that one's all set.
Yeah, that one already came in. That was an
Yeah,
old.
all that's all set. That was a while ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The original.
The foundation is in. The
correct.
Foundation is in there, so they just.
Okay, so that was covered by the original application.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was a separate
Yeah.
parcel. So yeah.
But yeah, that's.
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
Okay. That's all I have.
Mark?
I'm starting to realize what this development is. There was a lot of discussion about a bridge and everything else, all the work being done around that. So that bridge or whatever is not being done, or is it needs still to be done, but not to the extent before?
So originally, with the subdivision, I had to pick up the grade there to be able to get sewer in.
Yeah.
So I've worked with Bruce, and we agreed, or he agreed that we can do septic there because of the distance from the road. So there's no need to pick up that grade, and increase the culvert, the size, all that stuff. With a single house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
No further questions.
Robert?
Bruce, can you switch back to the map?
This one or the site or his site plan for the house?
Yeah,
This one?
nope, the single house. Thanks. So the septic system is where?
right there.
Right
Yeah.
here.
Okay. And then the infiltrations, the stormwater and roof drain infiltrate, okay,
Yeah, there's one on that.
Yep.
Yep, right there. Yep.
got it.
Yep.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
In the pool, does the pool have any underground drain? Is there any other point discharge? Anything below the pool, is that going into the infiltrate?
No,
infiltration?
that'll have to be emptied, pumped, and taken off site.
But I mean, you don't have any foundation footing drain, anything like that for the pool that has a point source?
For the pool itself, or no, not necessarily for the pool itself. We have yard drains, so kind of see the grassy area, maybe like to the left of the pool.
Mhm.
So yard drains in there, right? Because obviously we're gonna keep the grades somewhat level. So yard drains there, yard drains. Yep, there, corner there, all leading into infiltration. And then roof leader and everything going out to the front.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
David,
No questions.
did I ask you, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Alana?
So the paving around the pool, it looks like, is that brick or,
More than likely, just for purposes of the plan, it'd be like a paver or a natural stone.
okay,
More than likely, it's gonna end up being a natural stone.
okay,
So still areas for water to permit get through.
okay, thank you. I have no more questions.
Thank you. Frank?
No questions.
Okay, that pool house, is that gonna be a single level or 2 levels?
Single level. Yep, single level. Just frost wall, so slab on grade.
Okay, you don't have to answer now, but I encourage you to work with Bruce and maybe consider a little more of the conservation easement in the area you're not using on to the north. But it's certainly not a requirement.
I do have existing conservation up there as well.
Okay,
So that stayed with the subdivision. So
all right,
yep. So that is still up there.
okay.
Yeah.
All right,
So definitely, privacy for kind of keeping that in mind from the subdivision.
Here it is. It's on the screen right now. There's the conservation easement here,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the yellow marks. Yeah.
and then here's the conservation easement along the southern portion of it.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? The chair will entertain a motion to accept the application.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to accept the application. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion passes. Based on, I know a couple of us have been to the site walk when we looked at the four lot subdivision, but would probably be helpful for people to take a look at it for this development and if they haven't been to the site before. So, but I'll pull the commission and ask if you think this site walk is necessary or if this is a significant event. Andre?
I do think it's significant. And I think, as you suggested, I would fine with the sidewalk if that's what's needed by the commission.
Okay. Rich?
I would agree with the site walk, but I don't think this is a significant regulated activity.
Yeah. Robert?
I have a pretty good recollection from a prior site walk, but it's a new application, so I really can't take that prior information and apply it to this application. So I'm in favor of site walk. And I'm preliminary, we should wait till after the site walk to determine significance.
Yeah.
I would lean towards it's a non-significant regulated site walk.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just, you're right. Again, we, would usually do the significance determination after the site walk. So let's see about the site walk. Dave Fox,
I'd agree to a site walk.
okay. Mark Simpson,
Sidewalk, and I would wait till after the sidewalk to make an evaluation.
Yeah. Alana,
I'd agree to a site walk.
okay, Frank,
Yes, I would agree to the sidewalk.
did I miss anybody? All right. All right, so, we do have, the commission is in favor of doing a site walk, so again, we'll try and set that up for the same evening. And, we'll come out and take a look at the property.
Do you mind if I got a lot of after school activities with a kid that's
It's not absolutely necessary that you're there. but
Okay,
It's
okay.
helpful, but
yeah. And
if
that
you
was
can't make it, we'll
We'll let you know, and if you can make it,
It might-
great.
yeah,
If
yeah,
not, don't worry about it.
11th, right?
What's that?
11th.
We're planning on that
11.
right now. and we'll
Okay.
see.
All right. Well,
See where it goes.
you're letting me
All right.
Would it be possible to get the house roughly staked out?
Yeah, I'll get it roughly staked out. Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. That way you guys can look at it. Do you want? Would it make more sense? It's not up right now. I just realized I could actually move
up?
this. Maybe you can do it.
What do you want to do?
Now, do you want the full box of like pool house? That probably makes
Just
more
the four
sense.
corners of probably the house and the pool house.
Did you ever mark out the conservation easement in the back here?
No, that
Better-
never got done.
You didn't do it? Okay.
Yeah. It's delineated pretty well with the topo
Just
there.
the topo, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know if you already did it. I said that'd be a great way to work our way back from.
Correct,
so,
yeah,
Okay.
But honestly, a stake or two or like a flag there would probably be helpful.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
There.
We'll see you tonight. Vote on the application. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna reopen the public hearing. First one on 598 Plainville Avenue, JBS Developers.
Good evening. For the record, Brian Panico with Cole Civil and Survey. Here on behalf of the applicant, GBS Developers. Just quick recap. I believe at the last meeting, we had gone through everything, answered, I believe, all the public's questions, and we're just waiting on a referral from conservation. So unless the commission has any additional questions or concerns,
You haven't made any updates to what was presented at the previous meeting, right?
correct.
Okay. All right, are there any questions? I won't bother to poll everybody, but are there any questions? Okay,
Did we resolve the question of the elevation of the houses versus the water table? There was some question to that.
That was actually included as part of the comments. There were some suggestions to tweak the houses, to actually tweak the house elevations on one or two lots.
Okay.
okay. There's no questions from the commission. Are there any public comments on this? This is for which is it for?
590.
There we go. 590, yeah. 598 Plainville Avenue. Any questions, any public comment for 598 Plainville Avenue? Are there any comments online for 598 Plainville Avenue? Okay.
Got their hand raised? Nope. No one's got their hand raised.
Someone does have their hand
No,
raised?
no, I said that.
Okay.
No one does.
Okay, so we have to close the public hearing if there is no other public comment.
Mhm.
So I'd like to close the public hearing, going once, going twice. Public hearing's closed.
I'll need a vote on that, if you don't mind.
Oh, all right.
Close the hearing.
Chair will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Public hearing's closed for 598 Plainville Avenue. Now, we were giving two draft resolutions vote on this. I don't know, are people comfortable voting on this tonight? I think we can, since there weren't a lot of changes from the previous one, I think we should be. But I'm willing to hear if anybody wants more time. Okay, I think in regards to how this application went, as we know, it did appear before us before. They made some efforts realigning the houses, picking some smaller houses on some sites. And I think they went down from 20 houses to 18. So I do think they tried to work with the commission on trying to do the best they could on avoiding the wetland area in the front and then in the back. So I think given the restrictions of the parcel, they did make some efforts to do that. So Chair will entertain a motion for a resolution
So moved.
to approve. Resolution to approve. Okay,
And I'll do
in a
it.
second.
I'll
All
do it.
right. And the list of requirements that were talked about are you willing to go to those? Okay. All right. Motion been made and seconded to approve the revolution for 598 Plainville Avenue. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Oh,
Yeah.
Bruce?
Good. Just, I would like to, if you don't mind, include the date and just, we don't have to read all of them, all of the 19 conditions, but just want to make sure for the record, it is the resolution for approval dated June 3rd with these 19.
Oh, the resolution. All right.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, we're just for clarification. It's the draft resolution for approval of 598 Plainville Avenue, JBS Developers, June 3rd, 2026. The resolution and the stipulation has been shared with the applicant, and he is agreeable to the stipulations in the resolution. Great. Yes. Okay.
Mr. Fisher,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, you may want to affirm that the motion and second can go to that was the appropriate clarification.
Is that a good clarification to those who made the motion?
Yes.
Okay. I forget the second.
I second.
Second, okay. You agree with the clarification?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so motion been made and seconded to approve the application for 598 Plainville Avenue as stipulated and the resolution approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passed.
For everyone standing, there are still some seats in here if you want to work your way in and sit down.
Okay, we're gonna reopen the application or reopen the public hearing for Noble Energy Lot 8261 on Feeneman Road. The applicant wants to give us an update on, I know some changes have been submitted and
Yes,
Go
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. Pollen. Good evening. My name is Robert Reeve. I'm an attorney with Scully, Nixon, Reeve at 79 Main Street, Unionville. Represent the applicant, Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings. Michael Frisbee is the owner of the Noble gas station system. He's here tonight. Tyler Capel of Solely Engineering is the project engineer. Jackson Smith from William Kenny Associates, one of the project ecologists, and online Bill Kenny from William Kenny Associates will also be presenting. You remember the hearing was opened on the 15th of April. It was continued on May 6th, again on May 20th, again to tonight. And we've provided Bruce with an email, written extension of time until your next meeting on June 17th, in which to close this hearing. As the chair pointed out, since the last hearing, we have submitted revisions to the plans. We've also addressed comments that have been received from the staff, from the commission, and from the public. So Solely Engineering has revised the stormwater management plan to incorporate the so-called jellyfish system that was referred to at the last hearing. They've also provided some detailed written responses to Bruce's staff comments. Bruce just finished reviewing those, I think, at about 5 o'clock this evening. So we haven't had a chance to look at those. We'd like that opportunity, and certainly to the intervener and the public and the commission, I'll need that opportunity. So thus the request to keep the hearing open. William Kenny Associates has also submitted a wetlands mitigation plan. I think that came in Monday, and they've provided detailed written report, again, to address comments that have been received along the way from the commission, from the staff, from the intervener, and from the public, including some further investigation of the presence or absence of the lizard's tail on the site, which was something of interest, I know, the last time. So tonight, we're going to review with you those changes to the stormwater plan, to the wetlands mitigation plan. We're going to give you some responses to what we've heard so far. And we're going to ask you to keep this meeting open until your next hearing to give the staff, yourselves, the intervener, and the public all a meaningful opportunity to review, comment, ask any questions, make sure everybody's had a full and fair opportunity to be heard on the application. We would hope to close the hearing at your next meeting on June 17th, but if the commission feels that more information is needed or more time is needed, we do have more time available in our allowable 65 days worth of extensions to continue the hearing again. But again, we'd like to get it wrapped up next time. That would have been 5 evenings, and that seems like it should be sufficient for everybody to have their say. So with that, I'd ask Tyler Capel from Solely Engineering to come forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. For the record, my name is Taylor Capel. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. I'm with Solely Engineering. We've been in front of you now for multiple meetings at this point, so I'd like to just kind of start from where we were and kind of work towards where we are now a little bit. So just to review where this project started, as any design project, it evolves over time as through the design process, and this one is no different. For the initial application, we had a warehouse, refueling station, and a restaurant use. The warehouse was about 28,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet for the refueling station, and a 4,500 square foot restaurant. In response to some of the commission's comments and concerns about the size of the development, we have reduced the overall development to a warehouse of 18,000 square feet. We've reduced the refueling station to 8,400 square feet roughly, and we eliminated the restaurant use on the proposed development. In doing this, we reduced the proposed impervious coverage significantly from what we were previously proposing. And we also were able to be further away from the wetlands than we were previously. In that initial application, we had the wall was roughly 6 feet at its closest point, but there was a good section of the wall for the main drive on the back side of the refueling that was within 15, 20 feet. In reducing the overall scope, we were able to shift this wall further away from the wetlands on the south side of the development to a pinch point of 10 feet, but more importantly, the overall arcing of the wall is closer to 30 feet separation from the wetlands. The other point that I'd like to bring up of where we were previously with the initial design was the wetlands pocket along Fieneman Road. Originally, we were going to have a direct impact with the western access drive. Due to the redesign, we shifted the driveway completely out of that wetlands pocket at the front there in order to eliminate that direct impact. And so again, this was all part of we hear the commission's concerns as well as the public. And we're making our efforts to improve upon the design that we initially came with. And so with that, I'd like to jump into where kind of we are currently. So actually one other thing to bring up before we get into current changes, I just wanted to reiterate the conservation easement that will be in place on the majority of this parcel. The parcel itself is 86 acres, and we're looking to place 75 of those acres in a conservation easement. This conservation easement includes both of the vernal pools that are on site that have been discussed, a lot throughout this process. And the location of where we are proposing the development is tucked right up against the existing development of Fenneman Road as well as Slater Road. We're trying to make sure we're allowing for as big of a conservation easement as we can and keeping our development up close to the existing development that's already there. So Bruce, if you could go to the next slide, please. So this is the core forest habitat that was brought up by the intervener at the last presentation. And I just wanted to put in perspective where our proposed development is in relation to the core forest. As you can see here, as I just said, our development is up by Fenneman Road and Slater Road. The closest point that we would be to the core forest is over 500 feet away. And you can see that the bulk of this core forest is down to the south and west of this property, which again is all going to be included in part of that conservation easement. Additionally, you can see here Interstate 84 is already bisected that core forest, and I know one of the topics of discussion brought up was about habitat fragmentation. This area has already been fragmented, but again, we are not looking to fragment any more of that. We're keeping our development to Fenneman Road and Slater Road, this eastern corner of this property. And again, the conservation easement does cover the entire core forest that is present on this site. Bruce, can you go to the next slide, please? So now I'm going to get into some of the changes that have been made into the design based on the previous plans we submitted. These plans were submitted last Friday, and the revised plans, and they included some alterations to where the roofs for the gas canopy, as well as the refueling station. We have, based on the commission's suggestion, we have included the refueling station and the gas canopy and into the recharge for the vernal pool 1 that is down to the south. I know originally both of those roof drains were leading into our stormwater management system. By doing this, we are able to, contribute to the hydrology of this vernal pool with not reducing as much as we were previously. Similarly, along the Slater Road access drive, which we talked about last meeting, we're including a tree filtration system that is capturing the runoff from the road portion. And in place of what was previously there was a catch basin that tied into the overall stormwater system. And again, this is going to also contribute to the recharge of the vernal pool 1. One of the other comments that was brought up by the commission at the last hearing was about the Slater Road discharge that is currently existing on site. There's an existing 30-inch pipe coming from New Britain stormwaters, and it's feeding into this property, and this water then runs into the vernal pool area. We'll look at the watershed map again later, but this is the main contributor for the water source of this vernal pool. And so when we talked last time, the question was raised how we can, in essence, treat this in a way, or at least provide some form of treatment to this water that's being directly discharged. And so we are looking we are proposing to improve the existing conditions there. I'll get more into that design later, but just wanted to point that out as we're looking at the overall site plan here. And then the final changes that we've been discussing previously were the replacement of the hydrodynamic separators with the jellyfish filters from Contact. These have been fully integrated into the stormwater design now. And these have been included within the resubmitted drawings. Again, there's going to be 3 of these filters on site. One will be for the large underground retention system at the back of the warehouse. 2 of them will be at the front of the front underground system. The one other area I'd like to kind of touch on is the area along Fieneman Road, that wetland pocket. One of the staff comments was about adding an additional catch basin along Fieneman Road to reduce the drainage easement that will be needed. So I just want to highlight that we did include an additional catch basin on the opposite side of the driveway from the previously proposed one. And again, this is capturing road runoff directly from Fieneman Road, and it is, from one catch basin into the other and then into the sump that we are proposing as part of this wetland mitigation, which that'll be touched on a little bit more later. But I just wanted to bring up the point that, we're capturing this runoff from Fieneman Road, and the intent is to help improve this runoff. And this is what's leading towards the mitigation efforts made for this wetlands pocket. The stormwater runoff from the site itself is going to be pre-treated and go through the retention system. We are going to maintain or reduce the overall runoff from the development itself before it gets into that wetland pocket. The intent behind this wetlands is there was an opportunity here to improve on the wetlands that was currently out there. As many of you saw on the site walk we had back in March, I think it was, there was definitely a bunch of trash and debris, and the wetlands was not in the best condition. And so our efforts here are to help improve that, as well as treat some of the Fieneman Road runoff that's coming from the town road.
Chairman, point of order.
Okay, let's keep our comments to ourselves, please.
Okay, thank you. Bruce, if we could go to the next one, please. So again, I just wanted to touch on the jellyfish filters that we talked about at length at the previous hearing. Just wanted to kind of talk about some of the approvals that they've gotten and some existing sites in the state of Connecticut that have had these units approved, installed, and are functioning. First off, these units have been tested by the Washington State Department of Ecology to meet by their technology assessment protocol from ecology. It's called their TAPE testing. And they have approved this unit through their TAPE testing to a general use level designation. There are different designations for general use, conditional use, and then some that are still preliminary and in testing. So that's Washington State. They are, for this specific instance, they are looking at emerging stormwater treatment BMPs, and they're testing them and again, seeing if they can be used, conditional usage, or if they still need further testing. And again, the jellyfish filters themselves have been given that general use level designation. And per the Connecticut Stormwater Manual, any proprietary BMPs that are certified by TAPE for general use level designation, GULD, for pre-treatment and or treatment and or basic treatment are suitable for pre-treatment and treatment respectively in the state of Connecticut. So based on that, the gold GULD designation that has been given by the Washington State, these are approved for use in the state of Connecticut. So now, Bruce, if you go to the next one, as I mentioned, there are multiple sites in the state that have these in place. This is just a handful that we've been kind of researching and looking into as far as closely where they are, as well as how they relate to the current application. These are all CT deep approved installations throughout the state. As you can see up there, the first one on this list was the Cumberland Farms up in East Granby. Similar use, gas station usage. This was constructed in 2020. The unit that's in place here is smaller than the units that we are looking to install. But again, it still has that same filtration system, which is the tape approved is the filtration themselves. The Cumberland Farms had the manhole unit was downstream of the underground detention system. Ours is going to be upstream. We're pre-treating it before it gets into the retention system. The next one down is Costco in Norwalk. Again, similar use. Costco, large warehouse, much larger than the warehouse we're looking to include as part of this proposed development. The Costco was an existing Costco in Norwalk. They were doing or are currently doing, a expansion to the store as well as parking. There was a hotel that had been demolished and Costco was taking over that parcel adjacent. And as part of that, they were using a 8x8 unit, similar to the ones that we are proposing for use here on this site. That unit down there was treating flows of 2.94 cubic feet per second. Again, the two at the front of our development are don't have them in front of me, just over 1, and the other one is slightly below 0.75. The larger unit for us is just north of 3 cubic feet per second. And again, that's for the water quality flow for the treatment through the units themselves. The last one I'd like to highlight on this list is the Bridgeport Harbor application down in Fairfield, Connecticut. It is a power plant right on the coast. And this had a much larger unit. And this was built back in 2017. So again, it's been in place for almost 10 years at this point. This was a 8-foot by 20-foot unit that was installed with. They did have to go with the shallow cartridges, the filters. These filters come in different lengths. They had to go with the 15-inch cartridges because of being so close to the coast. The groundwater level there was very high relative to where the units were going. And again, we can anticipate with the proximity to the wetlands that there may be some groundwater in the area. And just to reiterate the fact that, these have been installed and have been functioning for multiple years in similar applications. Oh, and that one was treated for flows over 3 cubic feet per second.
Can I interrupt you for a question? What is, how often are these maintained and what does the maintenance require?
Sure. So based on conversations with the rep, it's typically they want to start out with a 6-month period of seeing how things are functioning and then come back at a 12-month maintenance, and then it'll go on a yearly maintenance. If, things need to be treated maintained earlier, that would be assessed during that 6-month first time period and seeing what the levels are there. As far as the maintenance goes, it's vacuuming out the sump, cleaning off the filters. In doing that, you're rinsing the filters off. These can be reused for up to, I'm trying to remember what the rep said, but they can be reused for multiple times. I think it's up to 5 years, but I will confirm that. Essentially, these are rinsed off, and anything that water that is used to rinse these off is collected to make sure that it doesn't make its way through the system. It'll be either vacked back out or taken off site.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question to follow that up. Is there any proof that's going to be sent to the town for that?
Sorry, what was that?
Is there any proof that's going to be sent to the town for those cleanings?
The yearly reports were going to be, I believe, is one of the conditions to send to the town. Yes. Okay. So Bruce, if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Again, just wanted to touch on the watershed areas for the vernal pools again. The vernal pool 1 is up to the north there where Bruce is circling in the red dashed line. This area in dark blue is the watershed that's leading into this vernal pool. As you can see, again, the majority of this area is coming from developed land in the city of New Britain. And a lot of that water is stormwater runoff that's coming through that discharge pipe along Slater, coming off of Slater Road into the site. That water then feeds through the vernal pool and then exits out towards the drainage ditch that's running along the north of the property. The overall area of this watershed is approximately 48 acres, give or take, which again, 32 of that is developed land and 16 is the undeveloped area that is currently on the existing parcel. For vernal pool 2, which is the yellow area highlighted, this is a much smaller area. Granted, the vernal pool itself is smaller as well. That area is approximately 5.5 acres, and the undeveloped area of that watershed is 3.9 acres, while the developed is 1.6. However, the difference between these two is that the developed area is significantly closer to the vernal pool 2 versus the development from vernal pool 1, both existing and proposed. We're ensuring that we are not intruding on the vernal pool envelope, which is the first 100 feet around the vernal pool, where current conditions today, vernal pool 2, there is existing development within those areas between lawns, houses, pavements of that nature from some of the properties in New Britain. If you go to the next slide, please, Bruce. And now this, I just wanted to again highlight the proposed changes that we made based on the roofs from the gas station canopy and the refueling building itself. These areas are now both to remain included as part of the vernal pool 1 watershed area. The area that you see in gray is the area that will be removed from the vernal pool watershed. This area is going to run through our underground stormwater system and will be outletted downstream of the vernal pool. The area in the gray is approximately 2.3 acres, which represents less than 5% of the total watershed area. However, we did also look at the volumes relative to the areas. When we took a look at the volume contributing to vernal pool 1, the area that we are removing, it's even a smaller reduction. It's closer to 3.5% of volume that's being removed from the vernal pool. And again, the majority of this water is coming from the developed area within New Britain through that Slater Road discharge. Which will bring me to the next slide into what we were planning for the Slater Road discharge. On the right-hand side, you can see a photo of existing conditions. It is a 30-inch pipe with concrete head wall coming into a plunge pool. This has been in place for many years. The intent for helping to treat this would be to expand upon this small plunge pool and to both in size and kind of its functionality. Currently it's silt on the bottom. When I was out there, it's about 1.5 feet, 2 feet deep plunge pool. And then off to the left of this, it kind of goes into a stream. The intent would be to bring this up to the DOT standards for a scour hole, which is another term for plunge pool. So again, we would be increasing the size of the pool itself, as well as adding riprap, and this would help with capturing sediments. It would help with the energy dissipation of the water coming out of this pipe, as well as soil erosion. And on the left-hand side of the screen is a detail from the DOT for these scour pools. So essentially the water will come through the pool and then come back up onto the opposite side, and then it'll flow towards the existing conditions of the stream. It's similar to what's happening now, but this pool is undersized for the size of this pipe. So again, it would be to increase the size of the pool and the functioning of this for the discharge coming from Slater Road. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to Jackson Smith, who can expand on that a little bit too.
Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Jackson Smith. I'm a land use ecologist with William Kenny Associates in Fairfield, Connecticut. I'll start off with the, Bruce, do you have the wetland mitigation plans?
Oh, it's not part of the presentation? All right, let me. Second. Huh? Is it? All right, okay, I'll keep going then. The next one after this?
Nonetheless, the modifications to the mitigation plan were very minor, based on the town comments that we had gotten, and it's really just two. You can see we added all of the different species codes to the trees and shrub plantings that we're proposing, as well as we fixed one of our typos related to grading in the wetland area to be enhanced. And then we fixed up our wetland mitigation, wetland creation, and wetland alteration numbers so that we are in line with the most recent plans that Soli has. And that's about it for the mitigation plan. In addition to that, we submitted a pretty large and thorough report. We took into consideration comments that we received from the commission and the public, and packaged all that together. And there's really four primary items in that I just want to go over and summarize tonight. And if I don't answer any of your questions on those, I'm happy to go a bit more in depth. The first, we'll go back to the on-site vernal pools and their buffers. So to recap, we have 2 tier 1 vernal pools on site. The best development practices do recommend that there's no development in the VPE and that you limit the development in the CTH to 25%. Unfortunately, even under existing conditions, we cannot meet those recommendations. And this is due to offsite development that has taken place. Yet we're left with 2 high functioning vernal pools. And this is because research has shown that you can increase VPE development up to 25% and CTH development up to 50% and still have a functioning vernal pool, functioning at tier 1 as well. Vernal pool 2 is essentially doing this right now at those VPE and CTH limits. Our project is going to have one impact to the vernal pool buffer, and that is the development of the vernal pool 1 CTH. We're going to rise that from its existing state at 33% developed up to 46% developed. And it will maintain a completely undeveloped vernal pool envelope. Even with the 46% developed CTH, which is only 5% higher than vernal pool 2, we're under the 50% threshold that's needed to support a tier 1 vernal pool. On top of that, we're including several vernal pool best management practices that are listed in the 2002 Clemens documentation. Those include the use of low spillage LED lights, Cape Cod style curbing, as well as maintenance of a forested connection between both on-site vernal pools as well as on-site wetland habitat. And for those reasons, we maintain our conclusion that the project will not adversely impact on-site vernal pools. The second item.
Mr. Chair, before Jackson moves on, just for the benefit of the public, if you could just clarify what the VPE and CTH is.
Yes,
we
apologies.
understand, but for the benefit
Yep,
of the public.
yep.
Thank you.
The vernal pool envelope is the VPE. That is a 100-foot buffer around the outside of the vernal pool that is shown by these smaller circles there. That is the primary habitat that is responsible for the organic nutrients that essentially support the web of life within the vernal pool. Broader than that, the larger circle, that is the CTH, which is the critical terrestrial habitat. And that is where vernal pool obligate species spend a majority of their lifespan when they're outside of the pool during the summer months, overwintering. Essentially, that's their habitat when they are not breeding.
Thank you, Jackson. Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
The second item that I'll touch on is terrestrial spotted salamander habitat. Spotted salamanders spend a majority of their time outside vernal pools, like we had just discussed with the critical terrestrial habitat. They're mostly burrowed underneath the soil a few inches or under leaf litter, coarse woody debris, or surface stone coverage. It's widely studied and concluded that these species prefer to do this in mature, closed canopy, broadleaf deciduous woodlands. They like moist, cool soils during the summer, but not moist enough to the effect that they will freeze in the winter. However, terrestrial habitat selection primarily revolves around the forest substrate composition. And what I mean by that is the leaf litter, the woody debris, the rocks, as opposed to the actual soil drainage classification. Studies show that the presence of leaf litter, woody debris, and surface stone are the primary motivator for spotted salamander habitat selection. On the property, these preferred forested conditions are readily available to the north, east, and south of Vernal Pool 1. And these forested areas are located atop both well-draining and moderately well-drained soils. Both of these soils are silt loams, which speaks to the ease of burrowing, and both have a seasonally high water table that is at least 18 inches below the ground surface. And that fact is important, as spotted salamanders are generally thought of as only burrowing 4 to 10 inches below the surface. So that water level is not rising to the depths that they are burrowing, both in the summer and the winter, more importantly. In addition, a majority of the sloping wetlands on site are on the drier side of what we would call a wetland. They're meeting your Connecticut definition of a wetland because they have that high water during the growing season, just long enough for the hydrophytic conditions to take place. However, during a vast majority of the year, they're a drier wetland, and that water table is likely 12 inches below the surface for a vast majority of the year. But the essential point that I'm trying to convey with this is that the woodland to the north of the pool, which we are attempting to develop, should not be thought of as the only salamander terrestrial habitat. There's a large quantity of moderately well-drained and drier woods and wetlands, which support the documented terrestrial habitat presence of these species to the south and the east of Vernal Pool 1. The third point that I'll get to is the lizard's tail, which had been brought up at the last couple meetings. So our firm conducted a site visit in late April as part of our ongoing vernal pool monitoring. During that time, we were out there to document general species that we observed in and around the pool. Most of our staff are not botanists by trade. Bill is a soil scientist. I personally am a wildlife biologist. And our office is comprised of various land use ecologists. One of our ecologists, while he was out there, had identified a plant as lizard's tail. It's pretty easy to do when you are early in the season. None of the herbaceous plants had flowered yet. Nonetheless, we recorded that in our report, and that was a misidentification. But as it is a Connecticut endangered species, we're obligated as ecologists to figure out if it's actually there or not. So we retained a deep qualified botanist, Brian Connolly, who has worked for us before. We had him out there. He surveyed Vernal Pool 2, as well as a couple acres of wetland area around Vernal Pool 2. And I had his focus limited to the wetland and vernal pool areas, as lizard's tail is an obligate wetland species. And his ultimate conclusion was that it is not present in that area, nor did he identify any other endangered, threatened, or special concern flora species in that area. That report was submitted late, I believe, on Tuesday. But it is here now. And then the the last item that I'll get to tonight is the impact of Vernal Pool 1's watershed and overall wetland and water quality protection. So as Taylor had summarized before, they had mapped the two watersheds for both of the vernal pools, and we noted a significant size difference. Taylor had put it in acres, but I'll put it in ratios for you. Vernal Pool number 1, which is our larger one to the north, has a pool to watershed ratio of 1 to 20, meaning for every acre of vernal pool, we have 20 acres of contributing watershed. If you look at vernal pool 2, we have a ratio of 1 to 8. Even at 1 to 8, vernal pool 2 is functioning at its highest level. And this indicates that VP1's watershed ratio could be cut in half and still have sufficient quantity to maintain an adequate hydro period for the vernal pool obligate species. We are by no means attempting to do that. We are reducing the ratio from 1 to 20 down to 1 to 19. It's less than a 5% decrease, as Taylor had mentioned. We don't find this to be a meaningful reduction in the pool's overall water budget. And in addition, this pool, as Taylor had started with the Slater Road outfall, is a flow-through wetland system, meaning it's receiving inletting water from the Slater culvert, it fills up, and then it discharges to the woodland wetlands that are bordering it to the west. It's not like vernal pool 2, which is an isolated and heavily reliant upon the precipitation and overland flows that it gets. If you were to try to propose reductions in vernal pool 2's watershed, I think that would be more significant than proposing reductions in vernal pool 1's watershed. As vernal pool 2 is isolated, it has no inlet, has no outlet, it's relying solely on precipitation. But for vernal pool 1, we have that continuous water in and out from Slater Road, and it's receiving a greater quantity of water than what is needed to support the hydro period. So we find that this de minimis decrease from 1 to 20 down to 1 to 19 will not reduce water flows to an extent that would adversely impact the vernal pool. In terms of water quality protection, I'd like to zoom out to the overall landscape because there has been a lot of discussion about Batterson Pond Park. I reviewed all 4 of the documents that the intervener had submitted about the various studies going on at Batterson Pond Park. And it's clear to me that there's 3 primary reasons for the pond's poor water quality, yet only one of those reasons has really been readily discussed. That one is the inadequate treatment and sheer quantity of impervious surfaces within the pond's watershed. That's not being disputed. That is a fact that is occurring. We are in the watershed. However, there are 2 other major causes that report lists for the low quality of the pond, which haven't been discussed yet. Those are excrement from avian species, primarily geese. That's listed over and over again in the deep report, as well as the pollutants that are already in the pond and locked in the pond sediments and are staying in the pond. So development within the watershed is not the sole item that's degrading Batterson Pond Park. The pond's watershed is heavily developed to an extent where substantial demolition, removal of homes, removal of roads, removal of buildings would be needed to reduce the total impervious cover to an adequate level for that water supply. Nonetheless, none of the documents say to cease and desist all development in the watershed. Rather, they say pay close attention and provide top of the line stormwater BMPs to treat your stormwater runoff. On our site, which, Bruce, could you go back to number 2, please, in that presentation? Which I want to remind you is the site, number 2, just in the whole page 2 of the document. Sorry. Yes. On our site, which, mind you, is over 80 acres in size, we are proposing to develop about 5% of the total land mass of the parcel. That is well below the deep stormwater manual 10% recommendation for maintaining good to excellent wetland conditions. But still looking at our 80 acres as a whole, we recognize the importance of vegetated wetland buffers. And this is why we concentrated the development to one spot on the property, ensuring that a vast majority of all wetland boundaries have large vegetated wetland buffers, well over 100 feet from the development. It's only in this northernmost portion of the site, along one wetland edge, that we are encroaching into that distance. And for that reason, we are providing top-of-the-line BMPs. So I'll wrap it up by saying this. I ask that when you look at these plans, it's very easy to only see the proposed development, about 6 or 7 acres of land in one small portion of the property. But if you look broader, this is not just a gas station and a warehouse. This is an applicant that's treating stormwater from public roadways that are currently polluting Patterson Pond. This is preservation of 75 acres of contiguous forest, high-quality wetlands in a rapidly urbanizing town. And if you take a step even further, this is the long-term preservation of 75 acres of the Patterson Pond watershed. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Bill Kenny online? Are you there, Bill?
Yes, he is. Yep.
I am here. Thank you. Good evening, Bill Kenny, Principal of William Kenny Associates. There's nothing else for me to add at this point. I think Jackson did a great job of covering all the points. I was going to speak about the wetland mitigation plan as the ecological designer on that, but Jackson handled that. Please answer any questions you might have, but otherwise, we've completed our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we have for this evening, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to keep the hearing open. Thank you.
Okay, I will now ask the intervener if she wants to make any updates to her presentation.
This side. Good evening. I'm Stephanie Roman. I'm the property owner of 1292, 1294 Slater Road in New Britain, Connecticut. I'm the intervener in this proceeding. Can't hear me? Sorry, I'll talk louder. You can go to the next slide.
Excellent.
So I just wanted to start off with where I left off at the last hearing. I talked about the CTDEP reports, which Bill Kenny and Associates just mentioned. These reports speak for themselves, so I'm not going to go into elaborate detail here, but I did want to reiterate at a high level what these reports had recommended and that the applicant seems to be disregarding. For one, these reports were intended to help protect the Batterson Park watershed from further development, including the description regarding Subbasin 3, which encompasses this property, and the 2/3 drainage to that pond from the property. The reports called for aggressive watershed and in-lake management and to achieve no net increase in loading and to take whatever actions to limit non-point source contributions. So while there was talk about the TMDLs, it's a misconception to say, well, our BMPs are 50%, so we're complying with the TMDLs. I mean, the whole point of the TMDLs was that the pond is over polluted, and we want to mitigate that. Go to the next slide. So one thing the applicant is doing is just broadly kind of painting a brush and saying this is this large watershed for the wetlands, and we're taking up this small slice at the very top, and so it's insignificant. But what that does is oversimplify the hydrology, and our reports that we submitted highlight how dependent this particular area is to the lateral movement of groundwater from the north part of the property that they're going to be disturbing and degrading. So it's important to know that the VP1 and the surrounding associated wetlands on how they actually get water. So the wetland system is supported by much broader groundwater and hillside seepage processes, not just by the surface watershed shown in the engineering calculation. Our reports support this assessment. And a portion of this wetland, as can be seen in this graphic, is on a slope and is distinct from the portion of the wetland that receives runoff from the upgradient watershed. So this slope wetlands hydrology is supported by shallow groundwater flow and runoff that is a distinct watershed. So we're talking about a much limited area of the watershed supporting that slope wetland than what is being described in their plan. This is not part of the flow through from the watershed because it's hydrologically above it. So we know that water does not travel uphill or upslope. So that area actually results in a significant distinction because they're assuming that the hydrology of the wetlands is primarily runoff driven when in fact our analysis shows that the hydrology to this area is more likely groundwater driven. So their theory that the wetlands receive more than enough water is just not factually, it's not supported. This portion of the north wetland is localized and sloped. It does not rely on the larger mapped watershed for its hydrology, meaning it's very much dependent on the shallow groundwater discharge that flows laterally from the northeast. And if you look at the slope contours, the slope portion of the wetland is formed parallel to these contours as groundwater emerges along a consistent elevation, which is consistent with water feeding from the groundwater to the north. The planned project will intercept the shallow groundwater pathways feeding this portion of the wetland, which would result in a 56.8% reduction to this distinct watershed. It's not the 5% that they keep touting or 3% I heard today. This reduction will result in adverse physical impact to this slope and wetland, and in essence, just dewater it, which we've already heard they're already pretty dry. So just wanted to turn to the contact jellyfish filter specifications. I did submit a copy of those specifications to the record. I also provided a copy of the user manual. I think the main thing to keep in mind, while I kind of commend the applicant for trying to find an innovative solution, I appreciate that there might have been some use cases in Connecticut. I just don't think that they're for this type of intensive use near these wetlands, near a pond. And so, one important thing to note in the specifications, it does mention in section 3 that the filter is really designed for particulate bound pollutants. And while that's significant, it's not the sole issue. We have a lot more concerns about dissolved pollutants from this intensive hotspot use case. So we're talking about high intensity vehicular and fueling use. Stormwater from such areas includes chloride, nitrate, soluble phosphorus, dissolved metals, petroleum hydrocarbons, PHAs. And if you say 75% efficiency, we're talking about particulate bound pollutants, not all dissolved pollutants. So you just can't make that broad assumption. Go to the next slide. So more from the specifications. This is a screenshot of the actual specifications. The specifications mention a 55% total removal of phosphorus. I know that the website mentions 75%. That was actually from the Washington study that was discussed just now. But there are no similar studies conducted in our region, such as the University of New Hampshire Stormwater Center. Therefore, we cannot rely on testing done outside of our geographic region, which would not be based on our specific weather and precipitation patterns. So just to quote from the 2024 CT Stormwater Quality Manual, if you're going to rely on proprietary best management practices, you have to, you can't assume efficiency if the performance testing was not done under similar conditions, meaning, again, as I mentioned, Washington-based field studies just aren't going to be similar to our conditions here in Connecticut. So I wanted to highlight the other specifications on how the number of cartridges that should be used based on the surface area. I could not decipher from the plan how many cartridges were in each of the units. So I actually couldn't decipher. I mean, the length of the unit is basically how you determine how much of the surface area is being treated. So if that's just a clarification point, I'd appreciate it. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that you asked about maintenance. These things actually require a lot of maintenance, replacement every 5 years. And the filter captures particulates, but they have to be cleaned out, which is a process that requires power washing of the cartridges in a bin and discarding the wastewater in the sump area. And I wanted to show the next slide is a picture of how that process looks. And so it's not very, I mean, I know it's better than having nothing there, but when you're talking about doing something like this so close to the wetlands and near a pond, I don't think that makes sense. So just wanted to highlight how these systems actually work to give you a bit more detail. So the bottom line is these filters are not the solution to the problems that this plan development presents. The proposed use is considered a hotspot for pollution generation, including a high proportion of heavy metals from brake dust. Most of these metals have a dissolve phase, often up to 60%, which cannot be taken out by these cartridge technologies. So that's all I had. I don't know if Seagrin's on, actually.
Nope, I don't see her. But I'll check one more time. No.
Okay.
She's not on.
Do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do. So for the lizard's tail survey, is there a reason why only the area around VP 2 was surveyed? Okay. And I had one more question, sorry. Oh, for the case studies that you had identified in Connecticut, were any of them near wetlands? Do you know if the grade was going? So I know you mentioned one was going toward the man. Thank you.
Sure.
Are you a soil scientist?
No, but the
Are you a biologist?
the reports are in. The reports are in.
All right, let's not. Hey, quiet. Quiet. All right. No, he has a right to ask the intervener. The intervener has a right to ask them questions. He has right, but I would ask you that the specific questions. All right, hey.
If the public persists on this, we're not going to be able to continue.
No. Do you want me to end? No. Listen. All right, but let's try and keep it specific to the project.
Yes, I would like to know if the intervener is a biologist.
I already said that I'm not a biologist. I did not. I said I'm not, but I also said that I have. I also said that I have experts' reports that have been submitted in the record that support all of the points I made.
Well, you said that testing outside of our region isn't acceptable. Do you have an expert background in science?
No, I took that from the 2024 Connecticut stormwater manual. So that's just factual information from the stormwater manual that I quoted.
Stormwater manual also says that jellyfish is unacceptable.
It does not. It does not. No, I'm not disagreeing with the expert said. He said that best management practices are acceptable, but I don't know that there's anything in the stormwater manual that says jellyfish are allowed to be used in this particular wetland.
Thank you. All right, questions from the commission, and then we'll do questions from the commission to the intervener. Well, I guess we'll go down the line.
Would it be possible, since we're gonna have another hearing anyway on this, to have a final table because you patients just singled out with like reconciling every impact and mitigation figure that you've like submitted in the record? Would that be something that would be acceptable for you guys to return?
Yeah.
Okay. That is one of my questions, and the second question I have is I know we've asked you to modify the warehouse and whatnot as this process has gone on. I'm just wondering if you did any considerations for any of the smaller warehouses or fewer truck bays at this point, or this is like literally where you kind of have arrived to.
You reduced it by 10,000 square feet as well as reduced the number of truck spaces that we have previously.
Okay. And then what prevents any further expansions or building disturbances within the critical terrestrial habitat? And that's my last question.
Well, the conservation easement is the majority of the property.
Okay.
Going off to the west.
Okay, thank you.
Rich,
I have no further questions.
Mark,
No questions.
Robert.
No questions because there's a lot of new information. I just need a little time to go through that.
Dave,
A minor question. The 1 foot high curb was depicted in the south end of the parking for the warehouse, but I had asked about extending that over to the wall area. It doesn't show that on the plan, but
Yes.
just a reminder.
That is the intent, to have it wrap around to the wall.
Okay, that would be good. And one more thing, I think the intervener brought it up last time. In terms of the watershed for vernal pool 1, the percentage of the whole what was given as what's going to be lost. But she had made the point, which I thought was a pretty good one, was how much of the watershed is now developed and how much and what's lost is all from the undeveloped portion. So if you could have a ratio of before and after developed watershed and undeveloped watershed, it might provide some information that would be good, considering that the undeveloped portion would be more natural runoff and the developed portion would be urban runoff. So I think that would be useful information. That's all I have.
Alana,
Yes, my question is for the engineer. So with these jellyfish filtration systems, these are proprietary, correct?
Right.
And so their cleaning and maintenance, does that require a professional from Contech to come out and do maintenance on them?
Not from contact directly.
And so if Contech were to ever go out of business, you would be able to still get maintenance? Okay. That's all my questions.
thank you. Frank,
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
okay. I don't have any questions at this time. I would just say, I agree that I would like to close the public hearing at the next meeting, but what keeps postponing is we keep getting inundated with information and changes and updates right before the meeting. So if you have anything you want to provide us, do it as quickly as possible, and then we'll move on from there. And then hopefully we'll be able to close the public hearing at the next meeting.
Is it feasible to discuss a deadline, being this is the last, trying to get the last bit of deadline information in? I send the agenda review out that Friday before. So the next meeting is the 17th. I just want to see, again, both of the applicant and the intervener here, so discussing what we needed here. The meeting is the 17th. I will send out the agenda on the 12th. Is that enough
Wednesday the
time
10th?
for you as the commission to review, or do you want to see that sooner than that Friday?
Would you want to set a deadline for information to be provided?
Yeah,
To the
I'm asking
town
if
staff
the
and,
commission wants a deadline, other than,
So how about the 10th? That's,
I would ask the applicant and the intervener if they have to get any information, if they can meet the 10th date.
We can do that.
Okay. Oh, there you are. Okay. All right, so we'll plan on that June 10th.
you want a
deadline.
motion?
No, we don't need a motion. I just want to make sure we're all in agreement. That way you guys as the commission
All right,
get
so,
this stuff by the 10th, and then my agenda review will follow.
all right, so then, for the record, the deadline for additional information coming in is June 10th.
Mhm.
Okay. Go ahead.
I had one more question. I just forgot about it. The core forest, how was the boundary of that determined? Because it seemed like there was a lot of forested area on the parcel that wasn't considered core forest.
Yeah, that comes directly from the CTV code database. Particularly the what defines core forest first.
Okay.
Core forest,
Yep.
Speaking, it's 300 feet is how they map it. They want 300 feet from the non-forested edge. You can have a big housing development, a woodland that is far. The core forest is not going to start until you're 300 feet away from that housing development.
Okay, so Slater Road.
Yeah,
But 84 crossed through the core forest. That's kind of thought it was kind of odd. I thought it was kind of odd.
Don't forget to go up to the podium, because we won't catch any of this when we're trying to do the minutes and stuff. So, okay.
I have one last question as well, actually. Could you walk me through what would happen hypothetically if a diesel spill happened from the pump island and to the first downstream structure, and like what would happen within like the first couple hours of that, and who's responsible for like reporting that to the town effectively after a spill?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Michael Frisbee. I'm the owner of Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings and Noble Gas Inc. So we have protocols, and I mentioned at one of our earlier meetings that we have an ABC operator. So if there was a spill, we need to go through those protocols. We have them in writing, and all of our staff is trained to be able to do that. So if there wasn't a spill, we have automatic shutoffs, number one, at the cash register areas as well as at the pumps. So if there happened to be a spill, then we have, I didn't bring all my notes, but based on my experience, we have concrete pad around the dispensers, right, which would catch a reasonable amount of, a small spill. And then once it goes downstream into the system, then we would have the spill would be contained, and then we would call our environmental company. They would come out, manage, treat, dispose of, and then report back to the DEP.
So you'd be relying on them to report?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commission? I had a question for the applicant, or excuse me, for the intervener. You kind of piqued me, my interest when you said University of New Hampshire had a storm runoff.
No, I said it does not.
Does not have, there's no study. All right. And then Washington, is that a university study, Washington State? Or
It's reported on the contact website. I think they plan on producing some studies. I don't know if that one in particular was one that they planned on producing.
was it a university study, or is it?
It was T. It was T.
All right, go ahead.
Yep.
So is the type of testing that's done and is performed by the University of Washington Ecology Department. And I do want to just make the point that it is recognized by the Connecticut Stormwater Manual as one of the testing agencies, along with the New Jersey DEP as an additional testing agency. And again, The jellyfish filters have the GULD general use designation, which again, by the stormwater manual, allows for the use of those in the state of Connecticut.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions? Okay, public comment. So,
Chair, if you don't mind, because I've got my little sticky here waiting because I keep forgetting. I've got to let me do. If you don't mind, I'm going to read the public
yeah.
comment that we have entered.
We're just going to enter, yes, the.
So just bear with me for a second, all right? Because I want to get this entered into the record. Go back to my list here. All right. I'm going to list these out so it's officially entered into the record. I'm not going to read every one, but they all are posted on the website in the SharePoint folder and shared with everybody here. On April 8th, I have a opposition from Roman on. All right. On April 21st, we have an opposition from Klimzik. On May 3rd, I had an opposition from Dabrowski or Dabrowska. On May 4th, we received an opposition from Diane. On April 6th, or sorry, May 6th, we received opposition from Denise Ortiz. May 6th, from opposition from Zach Gomez. May 11th, Diane for opposition. May 12th, opposition from Denise Ortiz. That's number 2. On May 18th, received one from Michaela Gangaz, opposition. May 19th, received opposition from Brian Hess. Another one on May 19th, opposition from Francis Holmes. May 19th, another opposition from Jennifer Bell. May 19th, Jennifer Plona, opposition. May 19th from Jessica Lister. May 19th, Christine Glenny, opposition. May 19th, another opposition from Marie Lavender. May 19th, Sarah Olson, opposition. May 20th, received opposition from Barbara Masalik. May 20th, Brenda Bergeron, opposition. May 20th again, Claire Burnett, opposition.
Missed Ashley.
What's that?
Missed Ashley Raphael.
Oh, sorry, did I go over there? May 20th, Ashley Raphael, opposition. May 20th, Brenda Bergeron, opposition. May 20th, Claire Burnett, opposition. May 20th, Elizabeth Wild, opposition. May 20th, Elsa Payne, opposition. May 20th, I have an Eric Ort, opposition. May 20th, a Felicia DeDominicus, opposition. May 20th, Catherine Wadsworth, opposition. May 20th, we have a Liz Pollock, opposition. May 20th, a Patricia Ravel, opposition. May 20th, Ruth Cullen, opposition. May 21st, Jaslyn Brito, opposition. May 25th, Oliver Hira, opposition. May 22nd, Felicia DeDominicus, that's the third one, opposition. May 27th, Martha Greenwood, opposition. June 1st, from Denise Ortiz, opposition. June 1st, Margaret Cesarco, opposition. June 2nd, Elisa Peterson, opposition. June 2nd, a Katie Monsibez, opposition. June 2nd, Matt Wincoop, opposition. June 3rd, Alyssa Diodone, opposition. June 3rd, Anthony Lux, an opposition. June 3rd, Cassandra McKenna, opposition. June 3rd, Joan Casalino, opposition. And June 3rd, a Kamal Doshi, opposition. And June 3rd, New Britain, it looks like it was the ward, the 4th and 5th. Hold on, this thing keeps coming up on my screen here. Give me a second. No, hold on. It's June 3rd. It was the New Britain 4th and 5th ward. So in opposition.
Councilman.
Yeah. I call them the council. It just said the ward on the letter. So I'm not on top of those. So those are all entered into the record.
Hmm.
And those are from a mixture of Farmington and New Britain residents,
Okay.
just so you're aware.
Okay, we'll move on to public comment. How many people would like to make a comment? All right, we'll start in the back row. You, sir, in the center. No, yep. No, you're after him. You can go after him.
You look better than me anyway.
All right.
Make sure you state your.
Make sure you give your name and address for the record.
Sure. Alessandro Giordone, 2 Earls Court. I own property in New Britain. I own property in Hartford and Farmington as well. So I want to begin with Batterson Park, even though it's been talked about many times. Just across the street from this proposed development, it's one of the region's most important environmental and potential recreational resources. The state of Connecticut has invested $10 million to restore Batterson Park because it recognized the ecological value of this landscape and the importance of protecting it. State leaders, many of whom are here, have publicly supported efforts to secure Batterson Park's future as a regional asset and a destination for recreation, conservation, and most importantly, environmental stewardship. Yet at the same time, this commission is being asked to approve a project that would introduce a diesel fueling facility, an 18,000 square foot warehouse, or tractor trailer operations, continuous commercial activity immediately adjacent to the same watershed. Those two visions are fundamentally incompatible. One vision is restoration. The other introduces long-term environmental risk. So from the town of Farmington's own website, your mission, I quote, is the preservation and protection of the wetlands and watercourses from random, unnecessary, undesirable, unregulated uses, disturbances, or destruction, and to protect, preserve, maintain, and use inland wetlands and watercourses by minimizing their disturbance and pollution. I believe this commission should ask itself one simple question. How can Connecticut justify spending $10 million to restore Batterson Park while simultaneously approving a major diesel trucking facility directly upstream of it? Now, there's a broader principle at work here. Throughout human history, we have constantly sought to bend nature to our will. Often that has been necessary. We build bridges to connect communities. We construct dams and levees to protect lives. We engineer solutions to overcome obstacles because the benefits to society justify that intrusion. But history also teaches us something else. When we convince ourselves that every natural constraint is simply just a problem to be engineered away, we often pay a price. Wetlands disappear. Habitats become fragmented. Watersheds become degraded. And only years later do we realize what has been lost. That is precisely why this commission exists. Not to ask whether something can be engineered, but to ask whether it should be engineered in the first place. So in these meetings, we're hearing a lot about biofiltration systems, jellyfish stormwater filters, runoff interception systems, watershed calculations, and vernal pool recharge systems. The fact that increasingly complex engineering solutions are required to simply make this project function on the site should be evidence itself of how environmentally sensitive this location is and how poor a choice it is for the proposed use. At some point, we must ask ourselves if we are listening to what the land is telling us. Sometimes nature bends to us. Sometimes it is appropriate that it does. But sometimes we must bend to nature. This is one of those times. We are not discussing a bridge that connects communities. We are not discussing flood control, infrastructure that protects lives. We are not discussing a project that is essential to public safety. We are discussing a truck stop and a trucking facility. A use that is not necessary for the well-being of this community, is in fact a detriment to it. A use that many residents have clearly stated they do not want. A use that places wetlands, vernal pools, wildlife habitat, and Batterson Park watershed at risk. You really have to ask yourself whether you are trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Now, the counter argument here is that throughout this process, the applicant has redesigned portions of this project, modified plans, and added measures intended to reduce impact. But the fact that so many changes have been applied does not convince me that the project belongs here. It suggests the opposite. It suggests the environmental constraints of this site are fundamentally at odds with that proposed use. And I urge the commission to be careful not to evaluate this proposal solely against its earlier versions. There's a well-known concept. It's called the anchoring effect. When an initial proposal is extremely large or impactful, usually in an obviously negative way, the conversation can gradually shift away from the fundamental question of whether the project belongs in the location at all. Instead, attention towards whether the newest version is better than the previous one, whether it's smaller, whether it's less harmful, whether it includes more mitigation, whether it's more reasonable than where it started, and ultimately whether we should just agree with something simply because we feel guilty that so many people have put so much time and effort into it. But that's not the question before this commission. Do not let the anchoring effect or the sunk cost fallacy become a reality here. The question is not whether the latest version is an improvement over the last proposal. The question is whether the remaining impacts of the wetlands, the vernal pools, the wildlife habitat, and the Batterson Park watershed are reasonable and acceptable. We have seen similar patterns before from this very development in both Bloomfield and Canton. In Canton, a proposal associated with this development team included a 23,500 square foot EV showroom, a 20 pump fueling station, and significant ridgeline disturbances near the Simsbury town line. After months of hearing public opposition, environmental concerns, and multiple revisions, the Canton Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously denied the application, concluding that the intensity of the project was simply too much on the site. In Bloomfield, another proposal from this developer involving Noble gas station, convenience store, winery, and ice cream complex faced significant community opposition. The application was withdrawn, returned to modified form, ultimately collapsed again. The lesson from those projects is important, and the discussion during them often became focused on whether the newest version was better than the previous version. But a project does not become appropriate simply because it is moderately less harmful than the earlier version. The fact that a project has been made less harmful does not mean it has become harmless. That is why I return to the same question. Does this project actually belong here? Because when I look at the wetlands, the vernal pool, the watershed, the extraordinary engineering required to make this proposal function, and the state's $10 million investment in restoring Batterson Park, I believe the answer is no. So for the sake of the generations who will inherit these resources, I respectfully ask you to deny this application. And just one more thing, I was taking notes while I heard everything because this really struck out to me. The fact that the applicant's own reports acknowledge that the long-term protection depends upon proper installation, proper operation, and proper maintenance of these systems for decades. And that's just what they need to operate right now to make sure what they're saying actually works. I don't think that's feasible. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm gonna follow that. Believe me, I don't know how I'm gonna follow that. My name's Tommy Vacco. I'm from New Britain. Obviously, you can see the shirt. I'm not a professional engineer and a biologist. I'm a manufacturing engineer, but they did some very good razzle dazzle over here to you. I just want to let you know that. First of all, this project is not needed. There is 8 miles down the road on 84, there's a truck stop. 10 miles in Hartford, there's another truck stop. So there's 2 truck stops that truckers go to as already. And if you ever been to the one in Southington, maybe you should take a visit there to see what's going on in that situation. So this project is not needed. Okay, let's stop damaging wetlands. Let's stop damaging environment for the sake of making more money for that gentleman over there to become richer. Okay, can we stop? Can we just stop this? And you all just questioned 2 people that came up here. One old gentleman about his little property on Wood Pond. You asked him a zillion questions because he wants to put a little slab in, and one of you did. I forgot which one of you, but you asked her what was going to go underneath, how you're going to drain, will it go into the pond? The next one you asked about the gentleman's putting up a house, and you're all going to go walk the property to look at what he's going to put up with a house out there. So your concerns are good because in your heart and in your mind, you know exactly what's going on because you all sat there and did this. So when I'm asking you, think about what is going on. Those are little projects that you were concerned about. Look at this massive, massive project that's going on with that gentleman just said in the back about runoffs, the Batterson Park, that the kids that generations will have. And you don't know. This gentleman engineer put down probably, we can probably do this, and everything changes. When things changes, it's called razzle dazzle, and that's how I started. I'm begging you, in your minds, in your heart, reject this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let me ask that people keep their comments to the project, and let's not have any attacks on the applicants. They're just here to do what they think they want to do.
Good evening. My name's Kathy Howells-Helmont. I live at 55 Batterson Drive, New Britain, directly on Batterson Pond. Batterson Park Pond forms the headwaters of Bass Brook and is located in the Park River watershed, which ultimately drains into the Connecticut River. This comes from page 8 of the draft Batterson Park Study, November 2023, prepared for the General Assembly. So any alterations to this property need to address any possible impacts to the Park River watershed and the Connecticut River. From page 15 of the same draft study, the ENDDB, Electronic Natural Diversity Basin Database report for Batterson Park is included in the appendix. It includes a historic record of spotted turtle and a record for eastern box turtle, both reptiles classified as special concern under the Connecticut Endangered Species Act. Both depend on unfragmented patchworks of habitat and are threatened by habitat loss and illegal collection. With regards to the spotted turtle, individuals of this species are associated with wetlands and vernal pools. Over the course of a season and lifetime, individuals will travel large distances, up to 1 kilometer, over upland forest and fields between multiple wetlands. They overwinter burrowed into the mud in wetlands between November 1st and March 15th. They do not begin to reproduce until 7 to 10 years old, and adults can live at least 30 years. This species is threatened most by any activities that reduce adult survivorship, including roadkills, commercial and causal collection, increased predation in areas around commercial and residential development, mortality and injury from agricultural equipment and other mechanical equipment. Additionally, the eastern box turtle in Connecticut, these turtles are found in well-drained forest bottomlands and a matrix of open deciduous forests, early successional habitat, fields, gravel pits, and/or power lines. Turtles are dormant between November 1st and April 1st and hibernate in only a few inches of the surface of forested habitat. The greatest threat to these species is habitat loss, fragmentation, and degradation due to development. This species is very sensitive to adult mortality because of late maturity, 10 years old, and long lifespan, 50 to 100 years. Vehicular traffic, heavy equipment, and ATV use in natural areas implicated specifically in adult mortality through collisions. Illegal collection of the pet trade and unknowing public of home pets exacerbates mortality rates and removes important individuals from the population. Predation rates are also unnaturally high because of increased predator populations, for example, skunks, foxes, raccoons, and crows that surround developed areas. Additionally, from the draft study, implementing stormwater controls would need to involve coordination with the municipalities, the Connecticut Department of Transportation on road infrastructure, as well as with private businesses and individual landowners to manage stormwater from impervious surfaces in the watershed that collectively drain into Batterson Park Pond. This assessment was made in regards to reopening the park. The proposed truck stop is clearly a much larger project with much greater impact to the property. We are increasingly very lucky to have bald eagles in residence on the pond. How long will that continue with increased water pollution, noise pollution, light pollution, and air pollution if the project goes through? As these hearing continues, there is a truck stop located at exit 28 on I-84 in Southington. 2 miles eastbound is a Connecticut restaurant that is going through a major expansion. I stopped there today and spoke to a foreman. They are putting in 30 to 40 truck parking spaces. The applicant's project is a measly 12 miles further. I just don't see that that is necessary. I visited both areas and took note of the fact that while many of the trucks were parked, they were left idling. Hartford has been an incredibly bad steward of this property. Hartford has the opportunity to create open space and conservation donations of the land beyond the park. Instead, they choose to sell the property to a developer that has a high potential to do great damage while telling Farmington, you need to alter your inland wetland restrictions and rezone the property from residential to non-residential. And you, New Britain, well, we'll be hooking up to your sewer system. Why don't we tell them to go pound sand? I want to go on record, obviously, as against this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here in that back row?
Chair, I'd make a recommendation. We try to limit the time because I have a lot of people online, and if somebody has a long presentation that they're reading, they could actually submit that and we could upload that right to the system. So
please limit yourself to 3 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, I'm Eugene Ng. I live at 24 Skylight Court. I have a couple points I'd like to make. I would like to start with one basic concept. The basic idea is that when you have an inherently hazardous use case, such as a gas station meant to serve trucks, and you place it next to an irreplaceable resource, such as a wetland, even a very low probability catastrophic event is an unacceptable risk, a spill, a leak, a fire. To be clear, that doesn't mean I think the current version of the plans are technically sound or acceptable. But when you have a resource that is irreplaceable, even a small chance of something bad happening is unacceptable. I think we can all agree with that. So think on that statement. I want to paint you a picture of just how crazy this idea is. Noble has a very recent history of gas leaks, and I don't know why the commission doesn't question this more. Their most recent gas leak happened less than a year ago. They've had 2 gas leaks over the past 5 years at the same gas station, the one that's literally across the street from where this new one is being proposed. In both cases, an unknown quantity of gas was leaked into the surrounding area. In the most recent case, which was less than a year ago, they had to remove a total of 2,300 gallons of gasoline impacted groundwater, which is about the size of a large above ground swimming pool. I mean, it's been less than a year since that spill. The investigating parties were supposed to come back and recheck in Q1 and Q2 of this year to see if there was any remaining damage. And now they're proposing a bigger gas station with a more dangerous fuel type, serving larger vehicles literally across the street. And somehow this commission thinks that's acceptable. It's not acceptable. It's actually baffling. I don't know why they're even still allowed to operate with that kind of track record. 2 leak investigations in 5 years is a pattern of negligence that should automatically disqualify this application. This commission cannot take their proposed mitigations at face value. I don't think anybody in this room can take their proposed plans at face value when they've proved that we can't trust them to properly implement them, install them, or maintain them. Because I'm sure that they presented similar plans when that first gas station was built. And look what happened, right? I would suggest that the commission obtains a copy of those plans as well to understand the failure. I work for Pratt & Whitney. I do a lot of work with industrial equipment. And if a supplier had 2 EH&S failures in 5 years at Pratt & Whitney, we would blacklist them. We would never work with them again. We would be absolutely justified in making that decision as well. I mean, 100% justified. That's not even taking into account external hazards that are out of Noble's control. It's not unreasonable. It's a perfectly reasonable thought experiment to think, what if a truck gets into an accident at that intersection and now suddenly you have a massive spill above ground that leaks all the way into Batterson Park, right? So not only can we not trust Noble to implement their own fail-safes, there are additional factors that are outside of their control that they would be directly responsible for.
Wrap it up, please. Excuse me.
I do have a final suggestion for the commission. Multiple people now have spoken to this commission about the existence of other feasible alternatives in the area. It's not our obligation to suggest alternative locations to the applicant. I would propose that if gas stations are truly needed in this area, this commission should ask Noble to demonstrate why this specific location in the middle of a wetland is somehow the only viable, feasible option for them. It absolutely doesn't make sense. And they should have to prove that a wetland protected location is somehow the only alternative that serves this community need, this made up community need for trucking. So thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Anybody in the back row or? And then you can go next, sure.
Good evening. My name is Katie Muncevice, and I live at 80 Alexander Road. I just want to clarify, I'm not a scientist. I am not a biologist. I am a mom. I firmly and completely oppose Noble's proposal for a truck stop and warehouse in my lovely neighborhood. I was raised in New Britain. Just 2 months ago, my husband and I purchased a home thinking it would be a great place to raise our 2 beautiful children. Imagine our horror when we hear about this proposed truck stop and warehouse. We live approximately 1 mile from where this truck stop and warehouse is going to be put in. We moved to our home because we wanted to be near family, near parks, near schools, not near a truck stop and a warehouse. Think about what's in store for me, my children, my neighbors, my community. Think about our future. Think about all the exhaust fumes that will fill our air. And when I have to look into my baby's beautiful, big blue eyes and tell them, we can't play outside today, the air is not safe to breathe. Think about the 24-hour noise, the traffic. When I tuck my babies in at night and I say, I hope you can get some rest. I'm sorry, it's so loud all the time. Think about all the gas, diesel runoff into the water, our drinking water that's going to be polluted. And when I have to look at my babies and say, sorry, you can't drink the tap water, it's just not safe. Perhaps some of you don't have kids. Maybe you can't empathize with me. And if you can't, then I ask you to consider the irreparable damage that this project will have on our environment. The ecosystems in the wetlands cannot be disturbed. The oil runoff, exhaust, noise pollution, it will wreak havoc on the wetlands and its inhabitants. No amount of jellyfish filtration is going to do the job of just, how about if we just don't make the mess in the first place, then we don't have to clean it up. It also seems like this, the argument today from the applicant is, well, Batterson Pond's already pretty messed up, so it's okay if we make it worse. I-84 already destroyed some of those wetlands, so it's not a big deal if we come in and make it worse. Make it make sense. It doesn't. I'm here to tell you it doesn't make sense. I don't have to tell you what a wonderful place Farmington is. I'm sure you live here because you want the quiet and safe neighborhoods. You want the access to the beautiful lands. We want the same thing in New Britain. I promise you, all of that will change if this truck stop and this warehouse is built. Our quality of life will be destroyed if you guys allow this. The good news is that you can help me. You can help my family. You can help my neighborhood. You can help my community. You can protect the land. You can help your community too. You have the power to stop this. This proposal in any form is not a good idea, and you all have the power to make a difference and stop it. You have the power. We the people don't want this, and you have the power to help us. I beg you with every fiber of my being to stop this project in any form from happening. Thank you.
Thank you. DeFranco.
Good evening. My name is David DeFranzo. I live at 95 Pape Road in New Britain. I'm also a state representative for part of the area that is going to be impacted by this proposed plan. I'm certainly not an expert on some of the scientific data that was discussed tonight. What I do have is a little bit of a familiarity with the neighborhood in and around Batterson Park. My grandparents bought 1287 Slater Road in 1948. My father and his brother had the experience of playing in the woods along Slater Road and Finneman Road as they grew up. And I think it's important to give a little bit of a context in terms of the neighborhoods in that area. The people that live in and around Slater Slater Road are mostly working class people. For many residents there, their home is their most valuable asset and their primary investment. They purchased their properties with the expectation that both Farmington and New Britain would make responsible decisions that protect the long-term value and quality of their neighborhoods. And in my view, this proposal fails to meet those expectations. In addition to serving as a state representative, I served on the New Britain City Council for 5 years. So I understand the desire of municipal officials to pursue economic development opportunities. However, I do believe that this proposal is not in the best interest of either Farmington or New Britain. The development would threaten natural habitats, forests, and wildlife in the area. And furthermore, at a time when the state is investing millions of dollars to improve Batterson Park, this project would introduce additional noise, traffic, and air pollution in close proximity to important recreational and environmental resources. The proposal would also significantly increase traffic in the area, including substantial numbers of large trucks entering and exiting the facility. The site is located near 2 New Britain schools and a number of residential neighborhoods. A development of this scale will inevitably generate additional demands on public safety services, traffic accidents, vehicles breakdowns, and other incidents involving out-of-town motorists will require responses from local police, fire, and emergency personnel, potentially affecting response times for residents who rely on those services. For these reasons, I join many of the residents here and the people that are at home in opposing this proposal and respectfully asking that you give serious consideration to our concerns. As public officials, we have a responsibility to place the interests of homeowners, residents, and the broader community ahead of those of private developers, regardless of how well-intentioned the proposal may be. There may be other locations that would be appropriate for a project like this, but I do not believe this is the correct location. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Everybody else in the back row? All right, how about the, all right, go ahead. Last meeting, I started in the front row, went backwards, so I decided I'd go in the back and move forward.
Good evening. My name is Luz Ortiz Luna. I am a resident at New Britain's 10 Jackson Street. I also sit on the council in New Britain, and I represent Ward 4. So I did write a speech. I'm going to try to keep it short. Tonight, we've heard a lot about contamination, spills, pollution. One thing I didn't hear was the traffic. I work in Torrington. My morning commute is Farmington Avenue into Farmington every morning. That intersection, it's already a lot of traffic, especially coming out of the gas station. There is a wraparound where,
Excuse me, Chair, it'd be great to remind people, this is just an inland wetland meeting. We don't deal with traffic. TPZ deals with traffic at a separate hearing. No. What I'm saying is that this is an environmental inland wetlands hearing. When the next step is planning and zoning, they deal with the zone change, traffic. That's it. I'm just wanting to keep this shorter so everyone realizes what this commission is here for.
Well, I think it all ties together. And if you want, fine, I will skip over the traffic that goes on that morning or every day. So let's just skip over that and let's just talk about human life. Like State Representative Dave DeFranzo stated, we do have 2 schools down the street. We do have Batterson Park that we are investing in that park for a better quality of life. Most importantly, we have renters and homeowners in that area that have lived there for decades. And quite honestly, they just don't want it in their backyard, plain and simple. They were there first. They do not want this there. Since I was cut off, I just want you guys to please consider voting this down. There's plenty of us that do support truck drivers. However, we just don't want it in our residential area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the back row? All right, how about the next row forward? Anybody else there? Good.
Hi, my name is Catherine Long. I'm a resident of New Britain. And I live less than, I would say 0.25 miles away from this project area. I have a few questions that I'm not sure if they're going to be answered right now, if I'm allowed to do that. I want to know what the terms of the conservation easement are and who the easement holder is going to be. If that hasn't even been put in place, or what the restrictions are going to be, who's going to monitor the land. What stewardship precautions, because this is going to be in perpetuity, will be taken in case of leaching or dumping. One of the gentlemen said earlier that we'll have to rely on Noble themselves to report their spills and follow up with the remediation. It did take multiple town hall meetings, though, just for them to consider revising their initial plans. When asked about what would be done in the instance of a diesel spill, one of the responses was the concrete pads will catch the initial spill. But what happens after that? It's an impervious surface and it's going to wash away and either go into the surrounding wetlands or into the storm drain. This brings us again to the question of who's holding the easement and when it will be recorded in the land records. Is it already written and established that it's going to be done with a certain entity? You can definitely say you're going to preserve land. Nothing's holding you to it until it's recorded in the land records. So then again, they'll be in charge of enforcing the terms. And if there are encroachments from the development, who's going to hold them accountable to mitigating the breaching of the easement? I feel like that was a really big component of the applicant's argument, that they just kept emphasizing that there's going to be a conservation easement. But what good is that if the increased development around it greatly reduces the quality of the environment in the preserved area? Someone used the sunk cost fallacy, saying that the area is already encumbered by a significant portion of impervious surfaces that have degraded the surrounding region, and the Batterson Park's watershed, but we're still not stopping residential development. I think there's a really big difference between developing an entire truck rest stop with the new fueling station, a diesel fueling station, than maybe considering putting in a housing development. And even at that point, that would still be up to a lot of deliberation. Yes, you can't take away any existing impervious surfaces that are literally people's homes already established, but you can prevent the addition of more impervious surfaces that by nature will also bring an increase of traffic, which will inevitably bring a danger to public safety, noise pollution, and have high risks of further contamination and environmental degradation. Again, I just want to say that the applicants kept emphasizing that we're focusing on just the development and not the greater conservation. So we need to take a step back and look that it's only less than 5% of the wetlands that it's going to encumber. The quote was, "We are not focusing on the preservation of high quality wetlands." So in that same breath, you are going to be developing 6 to 7 acres of high quality wetlands that will never be able to provide the same beneficial functions we rely on wetlands for. Furthermore, this will likely just, again, continue to degrade the surrounding region, especially if there's nothing written in the land records or established that it will be preserved. And again, that is a lifetime in perpetuity commitment to keeping the land intact. So I also, yes, this is an environmental meeting, and I just feel like it's, it would be quite hypocritical if this wasn't taken into consideration with every single person's opposition and the points made by the non-gas station representatives. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row?
Can I ask a question for that?
Sure. You want to ask?
No.
Okay, let's wait.
Yeah,
We
okay.
finish the inside.
All right.
What's that?
Hello,
Go ahead.
my name's Denise Ortiz. I'm at 139 Country Club Road in New Britain. I am not a lawyer. I am here as a New Britain resident. I'm not here on behalf of my employer. I do want to review quickly because there's a lot of new faces in the room. the Connecticut General Statute that says, that gives inland wetland commissions the power to be stewards of the land, stewards of the land. Connecticut General Statute 22A 36 through 22A 45 grants municipalities that power. It also, to my understanding, please feel free to read through the law yourself. It's online for free. It also states that the commission shall take into consideration all the relevant, sorry, I can't see. The commission shall take into consideration all relevant facts and circumstances, including the environmental impact of the proposed regulated activity, feasible and prudent alternatives, short and long-term impacts, irreversible loss of wetland or watercourse resources, mitigation measures, and the character and degree of injury to or interference with safety, health, or the reasonable use of property. They shall take that into consideration. That doesn't mean let's just focus on the vernal pools and whatever magic we may be able to work around them. That means the commission shall take that into consideration. And I think all these people have made it clear they understand that too. And I'll ask the commission a question to make sure that I heard it right, that the lizard's tail, which is considered endangered, was reported on the first report back in April, was it? And legally that's supposed to be reported to DEEP, right? Is that, do I understand that correctly? So they could log it in their database? I mean, that's pretty.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know it has to be reported to DEEP. I don't know.
Yeah, it has to be reported to DEEP from my understanding. That's a legal requirement, but I'm not a lawyer. So then that was found. It wasn't reported, and the applicant decided to get another company and find exactly the opposite. Is that what I heard?
No, I think they went back with the same company.
Okay, so they didn't get the answer they wanted, and they hired somebody else and got the answer they wanted. I understand that they are still required to report that to DEEP. Maybe a third party should go and look at that, a unbiased party, like, I don't know, DEEP. So I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. Also, I have it under the understanding that the land that is actually supposedly up for sale, 8261 Fieneman Road, is that the correct address, was put under the City of Hartford Retirement Fund. And I don't know if you all have read the news lately, but there's a lot going on over there. And it sounds like there might be an audit, and there's a lot of questionable transactions going on. So please pick up the Hartford Current.
Let's keep it to the.
Well, it's okay. It's relevant because we don't even know if the property really should be for sale. Second on that is the support of the infrastructure to the gentleman who first spoke. I recall reading that Mr. Frisbee said he had approval to tap into New Britain's water system and sewer. I have it on good report that that is inaccurate. I haven't seen any proof in writing throughout the documents, correct me if I'm wrong, that has been, that approval by our city of New Britain has been provided in writing. So, you know, no land, no water. I just wanted to make that a point.
Can you wrap it up? We're at 4 minutes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Somebody else mentioned the Noble spill already. I live in the neighborhood, didn't hear about it till I showed up here. The commission is also, from what I understand, required to acknowledge the harm it could cause to wildlife. You, sir, over there are a wildlife scientist. the Migratory Bird Treaty Act requires under federal code that they be contacted, no bald eagle nest, no robin's nest be disturbed without proper review and permitting. Has any of that happened? I'm asking the commission.
To answer your question. This is
Oh,
a comment.
no, I just didn't know if I could ask. Well, then I leave it to us to look at the records to see if that was done. Also, the hazardous materials. I know that at the first meeting I came to, it was kind of an ad lib that they would say, that Noble would say, no hazardous materials are allowed. I haven't seen any of that in writing. What I did see, I think, in the last submission on May 29th under the gun was that all amended materials would be provided upon receipt of the permit. If I understand that correctly, that means I'll give you all the updated stuff after you give me a license to work here, which seems very counterintuitive. I don't go to the DMV and tell them to give me a license and then I'll send them the paperwork. That's not how things work.
You're at 6 minutes. So.
All right. And just by the way, there are other feasible properties in Waterbury. They're looking for redevelopment. I'll give you his card.
Thank you. Next person, go ahead. You can be next. If you want to get over.
Kate Grady Benson from Farmington. I just want to say that folks in Farmington are against this too. So I know there's a lot of New Britain here, but one thing I'm not hearing is anything about the diesel fumes that are going to be emitted at this facility, and being next to wetlands and also directly next to people's homes. The hazard to both wildlife and plant life and humans is well documented. It's something that I haven't heard anything about. And again, I'm opposed to the project.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name's Fred Monsees. I live in the neighborhood just on a street from this proposed site. I have 27 years in the operating engineers. I graduated from Hartford State Tech. I worked for LCI where we remediated a lot of tank removal and a lot of contaminated areas within buildings, within Pratt and Whitney, and in many areas. We have never remediated anything to a point where the ground is perfectly clear, perfectly clean, never. And we've dug 25 feet, we've driven sheets, we've done all of that. And all my life, I've worked construction. Catch basins always need to be cleaned. We put in these jelly similar to these. All they are sedimentation tanks. Basically, they collect the sand. It does nothing if there was an oil spill. They can't shut the flow off. It's going to end up in the ground, in the wetlands, no matter what. It can't be remediated, no matter what they say. We don't want them to profit off of our lives. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
My name is Sarah Andelin. I live at 42 2 Mile Road in Farmington. So this project is in my backyard. To give a little background, I've worked in sustainability, corporate sustainability. I'm a subject matter expert at a very large tech company. And I also have 2 degrees in environmental policy and environmental management from Columbia University. I'm mostly here. A lot of people have said a lot of things, but I'm here to share a personal experience. One of my first jobs out of college, I was an environmental scientist cleaning up an oil spill at Newark and JFK airports. Now, the situation of those spills where there were giant jet fuel tanks that they have a property just outside the airport where they truck that jet fuel in to the airplanes, right? They don't have the jet fuel at the airport. And these jet fuel tanks store hundreds, thousands of gallons of jet fuel. And the jet fuel is a much thicker fuel than what we put in our cars, more like diesel. And when I joined this environmental remediation company, that was my job. I went out and there was really no way this spill had been ongoing for 20 years when I joined this company. And this was 2016. And so 20 years that Newark Airport, JFK Airport, they didn't want to spend the money to fully remediate. I mean, it was like a massive area. It was going to cause major problems with how the airports were running. And so what my company proposed at the time, I did not stay there long because it was sad. They would put these basically giant tampons down these groundwater wells. There were hundreds of groundwater wells that they would measure. We would throw these almost like a measuring tape down that would sense when it was hitting oil and when it was hitting water. And we would measure that. And I would go out there twice a week measuring how that has changed over time for a full year. And sometimes some wells would have less oil for like a couple months, and then all of a sudden it would have more oil depending on the weather. Because if you don't know, JFK Airport was built out into the sound, right? It's built out onto water. So it fluctuates with the water table. So if you have any kind of spill, and there's lots of issues with having jet fuel in wetlands. You're talking about a potential brownfield site and that's, as a gentleman said before me, you can never fully remediate these types of places. I mean, our land on this earth is finite, right? We get to be stewards. We decide how we live, how we play, where our kids, how they enjoy the Batterson Pond, if they can ever enjoy it again. And I've watched that project go on for years. In many cases, we can use ecological remediation to restore land to some degree. However, in this case, for a spill of any kind to occur in this type of environment, this incredibly sensitive environment permanently damages the site. And then we'd never be able to use it for housing or to expand in any other way. So I'm sure you're familiar with brownfields, but I just wanted to add that just as context. If something were to happen, if Noble Gas were to sell this project down the road, I mean, how many companies do we know that have been around forever to be able to protect these types of properties? Thanks.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you. My name is Shirley Pepin and I live in New Britain. I don't live very far from the proposed destruction, but I am a resident and I've lived in that home for 43 years. I want to continue to live in my home until I die. I raised my kids there. Now I have my grandkids that I watch since I'm retired, and I want them to be able to have a good place to be able to go. You're talking about wetlands. I understand that, and that's very important. And I know that that's not the only important issue. I want my voice heard. The environment that you're proposing to put in is not only going to make the area less desirable, my home value is going to plummet, which, I'm going to be there for a long time, but I want to be able to breathe. I have breathing problems now, and you're going to be putting all this pollution not only in the ground, but in the air. I don't want to have to wear a mask when I go out on every single day of the year, because the pollution that's in the air is going to affect me and I won't be able to go out and breathe. But not only that, there's just no reason to have this particular station there. He has a gas station right on the corner. He's got a little shop that sells hot dogs and ice cream. He's got a mobile car wash. All of those things are right there. We don't need to have all of those trucks coming in. And I want to ask each and every one of you, if this was in your backyard, what would you want to happen? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Candida Flores. I live at 941 Slater Road. First, I'd like to thank you for all the hard work that you do. And I, as a former appointed official and former elected official, I understand how difficult it is sometimes to have to make decisions where the parties involved are so passionate about the situation. But I also, this wasn't in my statement, but I want to take a minute to really acknowledge the incredible job that our intervener has been doing for the past few months. The fact that this young woman spends every single waking hour getting prepared, getting educated to come here and articulate the arguments that she articulates with such intelligence and such passion is commendable, and we thank you for that. And I am sorry that you have to be submitted to the badgering that took place a minute ago. Sorry about that. So we are wired, our brain, to think about the negative, focus on the negative, and that's called the negativity bias. I spent my life, and now in my older years, trying to counter that by assuming everybody has good intentions. However, I have a very hard time finding the good intentions on this project and the proponents of this project. They have completely dismissed the human factor. I haven't heard anybody say on their side, we see you, we hear you, you matter. You know, this is a tale of two cities, Farmington and New Britain, and it seems that once again, New Britain is going to get the shorter end of the stick. And that is something that we hope that you in your deliberations, led by your values and principles and by the mandate that entitles you to sit behind that podium, make the right decision. I know you have good intentions, like I always assume. So the opposing testimony online, in writing, this room has been filled at every single hearing with opposing testimony. That's been said very loudly. It has demonstrated that this project is harmful to the community and creates unnecessary hardship to homeowners, families, and children who live in the area by reducing the value of our homes and by negatively affecting the residents' quality of life and health. The applicant has not successfully shown the benefits of this project to the community. Maybe a few people will put more money in their pockets and get richer. Maybe there will be a few jobs available to some youth in the community. At what cost? We don't want those jobs at the cost of our health and the devaluing of our properties. We're going to be stuck in homes that we're unable to sell and that we're going to have to be living there for perpetuity. If you go down Slater Road, there are no mansions. There are no 80,000, 90,000 cars in our driveways. These are blue-collar people, middle-class people who only have their home as their most valued asset. That has been said already, but I wanted to say it again. I don't want to lose my home. And I don't think that any community that has sense is going to allow this type of project to be built in the middle of their community. We ask you, we beg you to vote your conscience.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I live at Sidoti Drive, which is literally across the street from Sophie Noble, or just Noble in general. I just wanted to mention, nobody's really talked about this, but it's like a residential area. And so I live down the street and I'm really excited for the Batterson Park, the pond, and I run there all the time and I bike there all the time. And as is, that road is not really great for walking and biking, right? But it's a residential area. You can bike everywhere else. You can walk everywhere else. So if this goes in, it's just going to get more and more dangerous. It's going to be harder to do. And I'm not trying to like, talk about traffic or anything, but just to think like this is a residential area and we want to keep it that way because like as it's important, I think it's important to note that if that it gets harder to access. The new entrance to the pond is on the Farmington side, obviously. So the only way to access it from the New Britain side is to kind of go through that road. And it just makes it completely unbikeable, unwalkable. And it's just important to note that it's kind of cutting off. The whole pond is kind of cut off from that town. Like I think it's just important to note that like to walk and bike and it's just going to be more dependent on cars. It's just going to add to the traffic. No, we won't talk about the traffic, but I just wanted to note that it is, other than the gas station across the street, it's entirely residential and entirely walkable and stuff. But that's, yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else in here? Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. My name is Mike D'Amico. I reside at 6 Deborah Lane in Farmington. And with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'd like to read a short statement submitted by several state representatives from the area, if I may.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. So this is a statement from Hartford, Farmington, and New Britain legislators. The Hartford Pension Commission understandably needs to sell this 86-acre parcel abutting Batterson Park to capitalize the land that was given to them a decade ago and put dollars in the city pension fund. That is their charge. Residents from Hartford, Farmington, and New Britain have expressed concerns about the current proposal. If this transaction does not move forward, and given the state's commitment to open space, we would encourage the 3 municipalities to work with the state to secure the land under the open space program. This parcel would be a strong addition to Connecticut's open space portfolio and would preserve it for future generations. And this was submitted by Speaker of the House Matt Ritter from Hartford, Representative Mike D'Amico from Farmington, Representative Manny Sanchez from New Britain, Representative Minnie Gonzalez from Hartford, Representative Joshua Hall from Hartford, Representative Julio Concepcion from Hartford, Representative James Sanchez from Hartford, Representative Mariam Khan from Hartford, Representative Gary Turco from New Britain, Representative Rebecca Martinez from Farmington, and Representative David DeFranzo from New Britain. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Who's next?
Hi, good evening. And thank you, State Representative, for coming. My name is Angela Chen. I live at 180 Batterson Park. We just moved there about 6 months ago. And one of the reasons we were looking at a couple of different towns, and we chose Farmington based for the open land. And we were really happy to find a place near the park. And so the past 6 months in the evenings, we'll walk along the park because there's now a gravel trail that we've been enjoying. And so I really wanted to come just to express that I think you guys know the answer, and I'm still learning about the area. I've made a couple of friends in the area who've been there for decades. And as a newer resident of that area, I'm really excited for what you guys are going to do with the park and the fact that it's going to be opening up soon. And so I just wanted to say my part and thank you for being here this evening. So.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner, for accepting us and inviting us, having us present. I'm Roy Centeno. I'm an alderman for the 5th Ward, City of New Britain. And this statement is from my fellow aldermen and women, Luz Ortiz Luna, she spoke earlier, John McNamara, Common Council Majority Leader, Francisco Santiago, Council President, he's not here. I don't think so. And myself. And basically is we oppose the application of Noble Gas Real Estate Holdings currently before Farmington's Conservation and Inland Wetlands Commission to develop a travel center and diesel gas refueling facility on 8261 Finman Road. While infiltration systems have been proposed to prevent harmful runoffs from the newly created impervious surface being created by the project, they do not mitigate the risk. We agree with the intervenors' documentation analysis of that risk, including pollution risks to sensitive plants and animals, an insufficient buffer between the impervious surface and wetlands, and the threat of hydrocarbon contamination. The site plan requires linkage to the Britain sewage and water system across the town line, and includes an access road on Slater Road near a densely populated residential area, elementary and middle schools, and the Batterson Pond boat landing on Alexander Road. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room that would like to speak?
Hi, my name is Dennis Talmont. I live at 55 Batterson Drive. It's a simple question. I just want to know how many members of the applicant's team live near a truck stop? I don't expect an answer, but I was just wondering. Thank you.
Anybody else in the room that wants to speak?
My name is Pam Frizaka. I live at 186 Country Club Road. Thank you for taking the time. Once you look at the long haul of the station, once it's there, it's there. It's not going to go away. And in the long haul, there will be damage. It's inevitable. You can't remediate it. We just heard people say that you cannot fully get rid of this. So it will be a damaged environment. And even Michael J. Fox, president of the Gasoline Automotive Service Dealers of America, said that the vast majority of gas stations have some sort of gas contamination. The vast majority of them. We've already seen it happen. It's going to happen. The environment's way too fragile. The neighborhood's way too fragile. Everything. I can't even believe that there's so many other places that this could be. I don't understand why we're even looking at this. And that's it. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the room? You, sir.
I didn't come prepared to present anything, but I noticed something about the presentation that it addressed.
Your name?
Matt Noonan, live in New Britain. Their presentation addressed runoff, water runoff, but I would be surprised if light pollution, air pollution, and noise pollution do not also affect wetlands. I believe you're probably all the experts in that, but I don't think their presentation addressed that at all.
Thank you.
Can I get your name for the
Anybody else here in the room? Yeah, Bruce, let's go on to people online.
online? Here we go. Give me a second. All right, I've got anybody who would wish to speak, please use the raise your hand function in Zoom. I do have one, Angela Prezik, I think it is. Go ahead, you could unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Dr. Angela Presh. I live at 12 Bonnie Drive in Farmington. I am a biologist. I have a degree in biology. I have a PhD in molecular biology and biochemistry. I am by no means an expert when it comes to wildlife. I have taken some ecology courses, some botany courses, but compared to the experts that have presented, I am by no means an expert in that field. What I can tell you, and I'll ask you guys, people who are presenting this, A rhetorical question. Have you ever lived in a town with contaminated water? I have. I grew up in Naugatuck. Our river was contaminated by a chemical company. Our groundwater that people still drank was contaminated by a chemical company. Once that contamination happens, you cannot go back. It is very difficult to remediate when there's contamination, especially when it's part of a wetland. That contamination still goes on in that town. We could look to our own town on Finneman Road, where there is contamination remediation going on from a gas station that I don't even remember. I lived here 20 years. I've gone to school here since 1998. There was a gas station on the corner of Finneman Road where Dunkin' Donuts and Subway is. They're still remediating issues from that gas station. If that was in the wetlands through Batterson Park, that's problematic. So we need to consider not, are we being good stewards of the land, but the what ifs, the realities of when it happens, when there's contamination, what's going to happen. We need to prevent that contamination from happening. We need to prevent places like a gas station that can have diesel spills and ruin the wetland and our park that they've spent millions of dollars on to fix. Hopefully someday Batterson Park will be swimmable again. I remember swimming there. I remember using that park and enjoying that park, and someday I hope to use it again. So I would ask you guys, please oppose this proposal. Thank you.
Next person.
Yep. 1 second. I have Michaela G. Go ahead. You could unmute yourself. Michaela, are you there? Michaela, if you're there, just unmute yourself. So there's some kind of issue. If anyone else has any comment, please use the raise your hand function. Oh, Michaela signed on twice. Let me try this again. Michaela, are you there?
Hi, sorry. I think my microphone was muted.
Okay.
But my name's Michaela Gongas. I live in New Britain. Obviously, I oppose this truck stop. I did want to reiterate on the impact of noise pollution on the wildlife that live in the wetland area, just because I feel like someone else mentioned it and I feel like it hasn't been gone over. One of the articles said that when it comes to wildlife, studies have shown that evidence that noise pollution affects communication between animals, deters them from feeding and breeding. It can mask sensory information and can be perceived as a direct threat, causing stress. It can initiate behavior changes as well. And overall, that will harm them. So I would just like to recognize that as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that'd like to speak online? Just use the raise your hand function in Zoom. Going once. Going twice. All right, Chair. That's it.
Okay. All right, so we will table the public hearing till the next meeting. And just to remind the applicant, we have a June 10th deadline. I would like to close the public hearing on June 17th so we could wrap this up. Anything else, Bruce?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I was thinking 11 too. Hey, luck be a lady tonight.
Okay, can we take the conversations outside, please? We still have to finish our meeting. Thank you.
Haven't seen meetings like this since.
I don't think I ever had a meeting like this.
Good night.
All right. Thank you. Planners report?
None, sir. Thank you. None, sorry, none. Did you hear me?
Oh.
I apologize. Sorry, I said none.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the May 13th Inland Wetlands Commission site walk.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes of May 13th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion passes.
I'll abstain.
You abstain, okay, one abstention. Chair entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the May 20th, 2026 Inland Wetland Commission meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion passes. And we will adjourn the meeting at 10:03. Conservation meeting called to order at 10:03. Any new business?
No,
No? Any planners report?
no planners report.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of May 20th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain. Motion passes. We'll adjourn at 10:04.